Hospitality Marketing live show number 276. And yes, folks, that is not a made up number. We have done literally every week for going into many, many years now our weekly episode of This Week in Hospitality Marketing. It used to be called Hospitality Digital Marketing, but I've lost the vanity and I've decided that digital is no longer a necessary description as to hospitality marketing. It is a component of it all. A Zen-like experience happened to me. With me is the ever brilliant man of meta, or Heavy Meta, as his podcast is so professionally. Heavy Meta. I just, every time I hear that, I think of the AC/DC, but that's just because I love AC/DC. Mr. Dean Schmidt with Basecamp Meta and Meta Search Marketing. Mr. Dean, hello.
Hey, how's everybody?
It is, actually, I love it sometimes when we don't start with a gang.
Right?
Because it gives a chance to kind of ease in, a little bit with it. We're a week before Thanksgiving, and even though technically holidays start Thanksgiving for Halloween, now we're into the holiday cycle. Yeah. I don't think it really historically has kicked into high drive until Thanksgiving, and then you roll into what used to be Black Friday, what used to be Cyber Monday. Then you have this sprint between it and Christmas, which seems to be all too fast and all too brief. And then you have your Christmas shotgun into New Year's, and poof, all of a sudden it's 2021. Please.
And then you've got that dead space in there that everybody's kind of wondering, okay, shouldn't we be doing something?
Exactly. And, it's going to be fun, really, that we get a chance to talk a little bit, because we're obviously going through a whole nother surgence of this. And even though there's a vaccine on the way, three of them so far now. There's also the logistics. Hello, Melissa. Hey, Melissa, if you want to join us, let us know. We've been hacked. We've been Zoom trolled by, who's this guy? Who
the Man in Black. Men in Black is here.
Man in Black.
Yeah, the thing with black guys is when you've got young kids who have muck paint stickers to follow their hands, it all blends into a black t-shirt. You can't tell. Tell I've been, I was going to say smeared on my kids there, but that's literally what happens. Oh, hi, Daddy. Have a good day. Yeah.
Well, all right, just watch out. If he holds the pen up to the camera and does this, put your sunglasses on really quick, just in case he's got the flashy thing or something.
Yeah, zap people. No, it's been one hell of a week, gents. One hell of a week.
Yeah. Mr. Ben, a pleasure to see you once again. Always. I was just asking Dean with the fact that now you guys don't have the traditional Thanksgiving on the dates that we have it. I mean, you have Thanksgiving, so to speak. But then October, where you have kind of a thankful feast or something, or is that more of a Canadian thing I'm thinking of?
In the UK, we do not have Thanksgiving.
At all? You don't have a Thanks Day?
No. But whilst I was working with a lot of Americans, we'd take full advantage of the additional public holiday. Let's get absolutely, guys. Let's give thanks on Thursday. Out of office is on, and I don't expect to hear from anyone.
You're a bunch of savages over in New Guinea.
We'll celebrate it with some turkey twizzlers, and I might drink a Budweiser. Just to channel my inner Yank.
How officially does your holiday cycle kick off? Because like I said, I was going to ask Dean. We're in a resurgence. You guys are in a lockdown. Life is grand.
Life is certainly something. Again, this year is a little bit of an anomaly. We're in lockdown until the start of December, where I think I touched on this a couple of days ago. The government swear blind. Well, as you know, they've gone from saying there will not be an extension of lockdown to it is our hope and plan that there will not be an extension of lockdown, which is going to become, guess what, Cheds? There's a lockdown and you can't leave your house at all. But they were saying there was a really great sensationalist headline in I think it was the Daily Mail, which was something like "Killing your family for Christmas." Right. Okay, go on. You've got my attention. What now? Basically, the premise is if you take 5 days in December, you'll be burying your family in January, February. And everyone was like, just chill your beans, man. Let's try and get into the holiday spirit. There's some Christmas adverts out now. The holidays are coming and all that jazz. Just cool your jazz.
Yeah.
But no, people, I don't know what it's like over in the States, but people here have started decorating the house already, putting the Christmas trees up, putting the decorations. I fight until the very last moment to keep the glitter and the joy out of my living room. Like, we do not need this giant tree, these lights everywhere.
And that's why you're so popular with the kids.
I just see my utility bills just in like September, October, November, December, when we basically light the street up. But I feel like this year I might be losing the battle.
Wow.
So if I turn up next week, mate, with like a garland on and my room looks like some kind of fairy cave, you'll know why. Speaking of fairy
Hey,
caves,
another New Guinea native.
Let's kill all the joy of Christmas. Let's get rid of it. Yeah.
I'm trying so hard
yeah.
to. I really am, mate.
We
need a little
were on the
light
path of talking about how we're supposed to go over and tell people to stay at a hotel when we're being told not to go out the side of our houses for all of this. And I was going to hit the brainchild of Mr. Dean with MetaSearch being one of the first primary conversion points associated with if I do have to go traveling somewhere. I have noticed that there is that spectrum growth that has become more defined in colors between one versus the next. It used to be kind of blurry. It either wasn't spoken of or it wasn't referred to, or people did it, but they didn't talk about it. Now there's a definitive strata of people. Those that are going, but with some restrictions, those are going with a lot of restrictions. Those aren't going at all. I mean, it's very clean lines. As we're talking to friends and family as to whether we're going to attend a party or we're going to try to get any sort of family members together, there is definite no's and conditionals. Mm-hmm. And it's, before it was kind of like, oh, we'll think about it, we'll let you know. But now it's getting kind of real where you got to make a choice. Are you going to show up? Or are you not going to show up? Are you even going to ask people to come over, not go over? Are you going to go over to somebody that's asked you? And now you have to make choices. And it brings up really odd questions. So what you've been doing? Have you been going out to the restaurants? Have you been going out? Have you been traveling? Have you been kissing other people's babies? You know, just, I mean, it gets into some really weird questions. And I know that translates to what we do marketing wise. Like, how do we translate over that for those who have made the decision? How do we get in front of them to say, we've done this to make it even one less worry for you for all the other stuff you're worrying about? I don't know.
I don't know what it's like over there, but especially in the UK, our media is dominated by, one day we are within touching distance of all these vaccines, these magical vaccines, and the next day it's, don't dare look at your grandparents. Magical vaccines, don't look at your family. Magical vaccine. So even the message from the mainstream media is so contradictory, because I mean, I know they can't run good news or bad news all the time, even though they managed to run bad news from March to September. So I think with I find it really interesting because there's going to be a group of people who, I mean, I don't want to get too deep into things like vaccines, but there can be a group of people who do take the vaccine, a group of people who don't take the vaccine. And that's going to be another line. And I don't think that'll be as, like, some people might get it eventually. Some people will get it as quick as possible. The other people are like, no, I ain't having Bill Gates injecting 5G into me. And you can get to hell. And I think as marketers, one of the interesting challenges we're going to have is how do you message your property to the different spectrum of people? How do you reassure people who haven't taken the vaccine or still don't want to take the vaccine that it's COVID safe, while still trying to get some kind of normality of messaging back to people who have taken the vaccine? Not that I'm suggesting it's the be all and end all of this, but who are looking towards the end of this. And I don't know the answer, if I'm honest. So I've sort of answered your question with another question, Lauren.
And I would piggyback onto that with I'm going to steal from Stuart here actually a little bit from comments that he's made in the past. And those people who have decided that they are going to get together as a family, that they are going to travel, and I'm isolating out those who have to, taking out the have to. So those who have chosen to, I'm saying, they know what the risks are, right? They've already made that conscious decision of that I know what the risks are, and I'm either comfortable with it or don't care about it or whatever the case may be, and it doesn't matter. But they've already made that choice. So now we have to market to those people that have decided, yes, I'm going to do this in spite of everything else. How do we market to them? And the answer you might say is, well, we have to make them feel comfortable. We have to show cleanliness. And certainly you don't want to look dirty by any means. You have to show the cleanliness. But again, remember, they've already made their choice and said, I'm comfortable with doing this. So is that necessarily the first and foremost thing that they're looking for? Yes, it's important to them, but is it the driving factor? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think you're hitting on something, which is the nuance of it, right? And I think this is lost. People, try to say this is how it is for everyone and make blanket statements. And it's really not. Every individual is at a different point in how they're dealing with this pandemic and how they're recovering from it, how they're coping with it, and whether or not they're willing to travel. One of the most interesting stats that we stumbled on in our sentiment study, and really we didn't notice it the first time around, but I think it's insightful. And it goes back to the conversation we've had before about the first time you go to a grocery store is you're panicked, right? Your fight or flight is on high alert, and you're looking at everyone as the enemy. And then the second time you're a little more relaxed, and then by the 10th you're not. It's once you can get someone to be open to the idea of travel and actually dip their toe in the water, the chances of them traveling again is very, very high. The data we looked at the last time we did a study, which was right before Labor Day, said 53% of Americans had already traveled. Of the people that had traveled, more than half of them had stayed had made more than one trip, which tells you something really interesting, right? That once people realize that it's safe to travel and they have a relatively good experience, they're going to do it again and again. And you saw people have made trips, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 trips since March 15th. So I think for us as marketers, we can't necessarily anticipate where everyone is, but we can say, what can I do to nudge people in the positive direction towards responsible travel? Okay. And if I look at the people that haven't traveled, the best thing we can do is show them examples of other people that are traveling responsibly. We can show them social proof that it's okay to travel, give them permission to travel, take the stigma out of travel. They're going to be more likely to do it. But then you also say, well, I know these people have already traveled. You need to be using your own data more than you ever have to really try to convince those people that have traveled to come back repeatedly for short stays more frequently than they ever have. If you do that, you can, to Lauren's quote, you can build your bowl of rice one grain at a time. It takes a little more strategy, a little more delicate, intricate marketing, but you can do it. We've seen it again and again.
I'm going to go back to something you just said out there, actually, that really caught my attention. Giving them permission to travel and taking the stigma out of travel. And I think that really hits the nail right on the head. How do we give people the permission to travel without them being stereotyped and almost, people pointing fingers at them going, look what you did. It's your fault, and taking that out of that.
Yeah, it's responsible travel, right?
Right.
It's giving people to travel and not be reckless. It's encouraging them to follow the protocols, to explain to them the things you're doing to protect them, your staff, and other guests.
You do, Dean, you hit on something. There is this permission to other people's permission where I was talking to somebody that was attending a conference. I'm like, oh, well, you're being safe. Oh, it's just down the road. I drove. I didn't have to do it. It was like you had to do these disclaimers, like, no, it's totally safe. I'm wearing a mask. I've been, walking around with a hazmat suit. It's like they have to do the disclaimer thing. So yes, your permission based to it is there, but uniquely a question to Dean. For most of our earlier conversations for months, you were in an area that was relatively unaffected. You were, we don't wear masks. We don't, nobody's got it around here, blah, blah, blah. Now you guys are the epicenters almost. Okay.
Yeah, I will tell you you're very true. We have been very privileged actually in rural Nebraska here, in that a lot of the stuff that's going on with COVID was something that was happening over there, and it didn't impact us as much. That has changed. It is at our front door now, and it's to the point this week, for the first week in all of COVID, I can actually tell you that I know somebody who's infected. Okay, so up until now, it has always been 6 degrees of separation where you knew somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody, and so on. And so it gets real. And I tell you what, I know this is not, everybody else is going, well, yeah, we've been there forever. And so I'm not saying it to say that I'm in any special circumstance by any means. I'm saying it because, folks, it's real, and it's hitting everywhere now. So you do have to be responsible, and there's just no way around it.
That hits on the point that everyone's at a different point, right? Everyone has had a different journey through this and is processing and coping with it differently. And so anticipating where people are is not really practical. So you just got to try to figure out what psychological pressure can you put on people in an ethical and safe way. What pressure can you put on people to encourage safe and responsible travel? And I really do think it is a a responsibility of the entire industry to be promoting the fact right now that safe, responsible travel is okay, and reckless travel won't be tolerated. If we can universally get behind that message, we're going to recover a whole lot faster.
Yeah.
So you talk about permission to travel, and I think the idea of the peer pressure of permission to travel, when we start to normalize travel again, and it doesn't become the thing that people give you like the evil eye. How far are you traveling? Are you going 5K away from your home? I'm just going to quickly call the cops and get you locked up. When we normalize it again, it's going to become easy to do. But the challenge is, I still visit client websites, and the first thing you get hit with when you're there is pop-ups about COVID safe and how we wash everybody, we can spray everybody every opportunity. It doesn't matter if you even work here, you're getting sprayed. Videos, like drone shots of going around the hotel to show you that it's been like, that's not normal. That's some weird dystopian.
I would say they're doing it wrong. Honestly, I think they're doing it wrong. I think the information needs to be available. And it needs to be prominent, but it should not be the primary message on anything.
But then again, even when it's prominence, as long as that's still, I don't know what the answer is, and I'm sort of spitballing ideas here. Maybe there's a way of I don't want to see this message again, like sort of opting into cookies. Don't show me this COVID message again. I'm happy you're secure.
But there is the need for information out there, and a really classic example. So, my wife's family is down in Louisiana, and we haven't visited them for Christmas in forever, and we're really due. And so we're trying to figure out, can we go to Louisiana for Christmas, right? Now, that's a couple weeks away, and things are going to change between now and then. Let's pretend it was this week, okay? So I booked my flights down from Nebraska down to Houston. Actually, we're going to drive over. But can I drive from Houston to Louisiana? Can I cross that border from Texas to Louisiana? I don't know. Right. And that information is not readily available to me. It's difficult to answer that question. And things like that we've got to be able to answer easily. And I think as hoteliers, it's our responsibility to help our travelers know that.
Yes. I definitely agree that there's an expansion of needed information beyond just what are we doing to keep you safe. It's how do you get here? What do you have to be considered as laws, regulations, all that stuff.
Yeah. And Lauren's been a champion of this since the beginning, just being a resource for people that are seeking information about your local area. Like if you live near that border, you should have information on your website about that, whether it's open or not, what the process is, things like that. 100%.
But I think what we also have to fight, and I'll quote one of your brethren from Australia, Stuart, is that if enough people cross the river with the alligators in it and nobody gets bit, then you begin to get this, it's okay until somebody gets bit. And that's what we're at right now. The COVID is one of those things where until, like to Dean's point, you don't know somebody, but I can honestly say, firsthand or not, going to a hospital is a completely stripping of your personal identity experience. You no longer in control of your life once you walk in that door. And you may have a say as to what's being done, but not really. You're more being told what's happening. And it's heartbreaking to see and to know some people a little bit more on the firsthand experiences that went in the morning saying, I'm fine, don't worry about it. And boom, they're making the news that night because they're gone. Because it happened that fast. And none of their family were with them when it happened. The tragedy of that running around is profound. And it is a scary thing. It's just, we don't look at every time we get in a car that can happen to us because we've got airbags now and, whatever, having laws. So we're still into the realm of we don't have things that help us prevent this from happening yet. There are no vaccines or anything like that. The only thing we have is a polarization of mask usage, that's been politicized in our side. I don't know. In England, is it pretty much consensus that, hey, wear a mask or you're going to get shot by our neighbor?
Our right to bear arms is slightly
okay. Well, beat them to death with a stick.
But the general consensus is masks, and it's in the odd ones out are the people who don't wear masks, and everyone thinks the same thing. What is your medical exemption for not wearing a mask? If you have a medical exemption, is this shop really the right place for you in a pandemic, or why don't you just go home and wait it out?
Yeah.
There was a change. It was probably a few months ago when it went from masks being, that person's wearing a mask, maybe we should take it seriously, to that person isn't wearing a mask, don't you dare cough on me at all, you absolutely infected walking beacon of virus. I think one of the things you mentioned there, Stu, is a great idea about you. And we've talked about this on the show a lot about first-party data and about using it as much as you can. Like I don't know whether or not one of the reasons some hotels don't do this is either they don't know how to do it or they're prohibited by cost. But a really great way would be to download all the email addresses from your CRM of the guests that have stayed between March or wherever, upload them as a customer match into display and RLSAs for Google, and target the people from a search marketing perspective, to target the people who you know have had a stay. And when they go back to top of funnel or comp set or brand, or even just, in market for it as an audience, target them, because you know they've been here before, and you know, again, they've not been bitten by the alligator, so they're more likely to cross the stream again. We found out recently a brand name competitor charges $250 every time they upload a customer match list to an ads account. So if you are prohibited, dear listeners, if you are prohibited from doing so by a brand name competitor, anybody on this call, any four of us here could do that for you for not. I'll do it for nothing.
Yeah.
You don't have to sign up with me. We'll just do it for you for nothing and set it up for you. Because the idea that even now, the agencies still try to squeeze every little cent.
That's like walking up to a man dying of thirst in the desert going, "Yay, I could save your life with this bottle of water if you give me $100."
It's going to cost you. It's going to cost you.
That's the same as the agencies that charge you to put tracking pixels or beacons.
Oh,
on,
yes,
on
those are
your-
also lovely.
and then charge you an annual fee to have the thing they did one time.
My latest podcast and my continued podcasts are actually going to be about broadcasting and communication. A matter of fact, my last podcast was about podcasting, which is weird to think about hospitality marketing, but it's like I've been an advocate of saying, well, podcasting has its medium of listenership compared to a video that you have to watch. Audio can be listened to, as we all know from doing podcasts, in a variety of contexts. They could be driving and listening to your podcast. So if you can find a medium in which people can, by pre-arrival letters, letting them know, and I think it's a brilliant idea what you said, Ben, is like taking the segmentation of your arrivals and giving them more specific information, perhaps, as to what they have to consider before arriving. Just as simple as that anybody that's outside of the state needs to have, different information than those inside. Tammy, you got a really neat icon. I don't know what that is, but
It's really cool.
cool.
I had to fix the camera. Give me a minute. Sorry, guys. Go ahead and keep talking.
No, but it's cool.
I'm
Icon.
distracted by your icon now.
Hey, can I just say too that what you just described can happen automatically if you use the Fuel AI powered CRM. You don't have
What
to
an
manually
amazing tool that is. Wow.
automatically happens.
Amazing.
Hey, by the way, Stuart, I got to give you a little grief.
Out who it is. Uploads to Google, to Facebook, any syndication you want, and then you can automatically target. So
Okay, I just got a little problem with the fact, Stuart, that you have not come up with a Mandalorian head helmet that has a rebreather on it for COVID. That is the way.
I saw the last episode before the one that came out today, but it can't even work. The real one can't even work underwater, which blew my mind. So
I was a little surprised by that too. I thought there'd be a little bit more of the whatever. Yeah, but
it
It's
works
not
in
rocket science.
space, but not underwater.
Hey, careful, spoilers, guys. Hey, now.
Hey, if you're not caught up, that's your own fault.
Yeah, if you're not keeping up-
90% of the
Yeah, no, I'm up to where you are, but not everybody listening yet.
No, I'm not. Thanks to it.
At some point, the Mandalorian takes a bath. That's all you need to know.
That's all you need to know. Yeah, water is involved. But anywho, so Tammy, you're going back and forth with a microphone. I think your camera. Well,
Yeah, I was just gonna chat you. I need to change the camera it's using, but I don't see how to do that in the settings.
we can still
Click on the little icon, the little
something's been-
cog icon, and it says audio and video settings.
Don't.
Today's a good day for me. I get my brand new super duper Mac Pro M1 chip laptop.
Ooh.
Oh, pretty Mac.
Such a nerd.
Happy birthday to me.
When I got my 2017 MacBook, I think 2018 MacBook, I videoed my own unboxing.
Hey.
There's Tammy.
Yeah, that's exciting. I actually read an article yesterday from someone who said they had the tricked out MacBook Pro, whatever, that with like a ton of extra RAM, and the new laptops were even faster.
Yeah.
Even though it's the lower one, so
Yeah,
yeah.
actually, the bench testing on the M1 chip is faster than every other Windows laptop out there currently, and it actually is matching against some of the desktops on bench testing.
Is the battery problem sorted out? Because the last series were kind of
Don't
terrible.
know. Right now, they're saying the battery is still good for 10 to 14, which is pretty
Okay.
wild. But for me, I'm running on a 5-year-old MacBook Pro because when you buy them, I always buy as best I can and then let it last for 5 years
Mhm.
or more because they're damn expensive. But it's like, when I was
Gotta
waiting
pay
for
the
this chip to
Apple
come
tax,
out. Yeah.
just the
But
smug tax that you have to just swallow when you buy Apple
Yeah,
products.
well, yeah. There's the super cool brand tax, the super cool. It's cool to be cool tax. There's lots
Or the
of
environmental friendly tax, which
He
is
doesn't
now
mean
that
it.
you can do
He doesn't
stuff
mean
without
it.
telling.
and I got my 12 too, so I was all stoked. I got my little case for it today.
Wait, does it come with a charger? Apparently, they're taking away chargers.
No,
Remember where you can buy a home phone for like $20?
yeah. I'll tell you what, though. In all seriousness, this lidar thing is crazy. If you have a choice between the iPad, the 12 and the 12 Pro, go 12 Pro because the lidar thing is insane.
What's that
I
do?
mean, well, a
You're
couple of
talking
things. One,
99% of people.
you can measure anything at yeah. Well, it makes coffee. It makes coffee come from here. Well, it does other stuff. I don't want to talk about that. But in a room, it'll measure anything in the room. Like you can just look at the room and then say, okay, what's that? And it'll measure. It could take any image. You could take it out and put it in another room and actually 2 spec size compared to the room size. And when you do 360 pictures, it'll do full depth, total focus. So when you do the 360 pictures, everything's in focus and it's in perspective and shape size because it measures all the distance, which is just
So-
crazy.
Like, don't
Plus,
get me
the
wrong,
nighttime pictures are cool. So
I am such a fanboy. I really am. You cut me, just pips would fall out. But when is enough enough?
Never.
When is
Never.
enough
Never.
enough?
because
Like
you know
the
what,
last-
I gotta also let you know for Christmas you gotta pick up an Oculus Quest, dude. Just saying, you gotta join us on some Population One. Shoot some things.
I've got to get on that yet. I haven't downloaded that.
I think I've got a Rift or a Quest. I've got one.
Cool. Whatever it is,
Oh.
join us. We need squad members, and also Stuart.
I don't even know what
The
it's
new
for,
Star
but
Wars
I'm
show.
in.
The new Star Wars game is out. Galaxy's Edge.
Oh, good
Yeah.
God. Dude, we just take my money.
Hey, at the risk of offending Lily, should we get back to hotel marketing?
Oh, silly us. Yes.
I-
And Tammy,
I-
you're
I-
always
this
you
is-
need to get on this Quest too because we need people that actually know what they're doing on it. So come on.
I'm just worried that Lily will tune in late.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
going to be here, and then she'll tell
Smack
us
us.
all off for not being
Yeah,
on
she
time.
will actually. Hey, by the way, congratulations, Tammy and Stuart. Excellent presentation, phenomenal content, truly awesome. Thank you for
Thank
putting
you.
that all together.
Thanks.
It's easy to look smart when you're standing with other really smart people and you just nod and agree with Tammy and Dan. It was really easy.
Just make sure you're in the picture when they take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would they say? They were great.
See, and I was going to say the same thing, but with Stuart and Jessica and Dan.
That's funny.
No, it
Chris
was
did a
long
good job
overdue
on
good
it.
content. It was really good that you guys put that out. I think it's probably one of the benchmarks of this entire year of what HSMI has put out, to be honest with you. That's
Thank
how
you.
well I thought it was. So
Yeah.
and very relevant for the times and so forth. So Tam, it's cool that we have you back after all the craziness stuff that you've been doing. You guys pulled off an awesome engage. That was awesome.
Yeah, we did a 6 hours of content last week, virtually. So it was fun. Some really good stuff on tech, on SEO, some great customer stories. So
I was a little sad that you guys didn't cover schema much. You know,
I don't think Tammy likes schema.
no, I don't think she respects the value of schema. I think it's kind of one of those.
Yeah.
Schema train, Tammy.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny. Like one of the questions on Wednesday, and Jessica, like, Tammy, you've said schema is your favorite word. And I'm like, do we have 90 minutes to talk through it? Because- so it's really interesting. Our VP of marketing joined us from a very well-known SEO tool set. And so one of the reasons he joined was because a lot of people talk about schema, but then a lot of people implement it and don't see results. But we had case study after case study showing, like, when you do it right, when you really think about it, the numbers go up. In fact, Was just looking at a retailer right now that we're working with that in 1 week from launch, they're already up 10% in clicks. And I mean, it's early, it's 1 week in, so who knows and it's, this, but year on year improvement, not pre-post. So it's really cool stuff.
It just goes to show that doing something you haven't done before that's of value can make a big difference, even at a time you didn't think it would make kind of an impact. I mean, that's the kind of stuff, that block and tackle stuff. By the way, Stuart, you have corrupted me, because when I do my podcast of super cool, nifty tools of eccentric stuff to do, I now do the Stuart disclaimer. Please, kids at home, remember, all block and tackle must be done prior to doing something crazy like this.
Yeah.
What's that about Stuart's tackle?
What's the thing, right? I mean, and I'm Stuart on his podcast, you talk about, but we all know it's you got to lay the foundation first, right? If you don't have, you can't go to Oculus Rift if you don't know what, how to work the mouse, right? Or how to have the basic platform set up. You need to have the base platforms to build on. I mean, even with Schema, I love Schema, but if your website is garbage and you don't have good content, you don't have good details, you're not going to see as much of an improvement. So it's all about really laying the right foundation and understanding what you need to do to be successful and getting that built in first, and then playing with all the fun, cool tools like Oculus Rift and Star Wars games and all the other stuff.
That's called market research, Tammy. Come on, that's
Right.
business-wise market research. Right.
Yeah.
Someone's watching me and I claim it as a tax deduction. Just saying.
Yeah, Beta Immortal is a great tax deduction. I'm sure you'll.
Yeah. Hello. But I guess it lends itself to our earliest conversation too. We've shifted, and we've talked about this for months now, but really we've shifted from room and rate to how can we answer your questions? And that goes to having a content-driven, answer-driven, useful website that people can find for what they're looking for to find it for. And that's where Schema steps in. That's where good content steps in. That's when proper communication steps in with the CRM and engagement and pre-arrivals and everything else that we talk about, that block and tackle stuff, and making sure that all those things are done as best as they can before you start doing super cool stuff like three-dimensional videography of drones flying around with spray bottles. Just,
Yeah, before you do that, make sure you have an FAQ on your website. Make sure you have a keyword search on your website. Do those two things before you start doing shiny objects.
Just infecting flying spray drones. It's a good FAQ, you think?
You have 5 seconds to comply.
You come up with the best ideas, but only you can execute 90% of them.
And sometimes not very well. I'll just let you know right now. The success rate has a ratio. It's like I'll walk in and go, "This is the greatest thing since sliced bread." Maybe not.
But it's gonna be really fun to try.
Yeah. Oh, it's fun to try. We go down in a blaze of glory. That's for sure. By the time it's dead.
It's kind of like a MythBusters episode. If all else fails, just make it go boom.
Yes,
Yeah.
myth confirmed. This doesn't work.
Hey, I have to say, Dean, I completely ripped you off recently. So the first time we met was at HSMAI back last year, right? When you did your myth busting meta search session, which was really cool. I totally ripped off the format and did that for myth busting mobile apps. And used the MythBuster logo, really followed your format, and it went down really, really well. So thank you.
Cool. You owe me a quarter.
Or a beer. Oh, look.
It's
Speaking
me.
of Mythbusters or Mythical.
Who's busting my myths?
Mr. Ed was here. Mr. Ed and I had a very lively discussion yesterday.
Okay.
No, it was all political. It was all
political.
whether Ed being wrong, me being right. It was typical, whatever.
He says that
Don't buy it. Don't buy it.
even though I agreed with him. So
He did, but he, as in typical Ed form, simply argued with me to argue.
I don't see the problem with that.
Yeah.
I'm agreeing with you, but I'm going to go completely contrary to what we're just talking about and go on the other
Agree, but
side.
you're wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it really, really, really well. Actually, it was a fun conversation as always. It's enjoyable stuff. Needless to say, yes, it's rare for Tammy to be with us. Tam, and in all honesty, Schema has been something that is not talked about enough. And I know you guys have gone to. First of all, can you share some of the numbers you had with Engage? I mean, how did it go?
Yeah, it actually went really well. I mean, we had we had about 50% of the signups show. We had about total uniques, just shy of 500 people.
Sweet.
Anyway, so and a lot of people hopped in and out based
That was
on the
me.
sessions.
me.
Yeah, of course. So about 500 people total. And in
How
some
does that
groups we
compare
had.
to normal in-person
You
events?
know, actually, it was a lot higher number than the in person. So we typically get 100 to 150. Like over the years, it's grown to about I think last year just shy of 150 in person.
Mhm.
Some big differences, right? So when we do it in person, it's a day and a half event. There's a lot of fun and frivolity, on both sides. Like we go out to dinner afterwards as a huge group of everyone is left over and celebrate. And so all of that kind of stuff didn't happen, of course, because you can't do that virtually. But the content, the messaging was really good. And we bring in a lot of guest speakers. So we had a couple really cool topics on core vitals, on schema. And this year we did a lot of pairing. Like we had Marriott spoke with Anil on some of the things we're doing to help with messaging. We had Sprinkles Cupcakes talking with one of our product heads. And so it was a good mix of not just nerdy technical people, but also customers explaining in English. So, and then I showed up and announced a few names for our customer panel, which was fun. But
You really did have great diversification. You had some really incredibly talented people globally that were on it, that were really very talented and very knowledgeable what they're talking about. It was really nice to hear.
yeah, and even on the customer front, so we had two hoteliers. We had Theo from Remington spoke, which was fantastic on the independent hotel front, and then we had Steve Fitzgerald from G6 Motel 6 speak on the brand side, and we had VMware, we had Renault, which is an automotive group out of Mexico. We had US Bank, and I feel like I'm missing someone, and I'm probably am because there were 6, and Evergreen Home Loans was the other one. So it was kind of a mix of different industries, different brands, but it was cool to hear how different industries apply things. I think the more we play with different industries, the more we realize that it's all the same. It's just taking the blocking and tackling and just tweaking it slightly to fit the industry.
Mm-hmm. Just one thing, going back to one of our earlier conversations about communication to the guest and arrival and so forth. And Stu, you pointed out, I'm a big advocate of the videography and so forth as a medium to convey some of that information. Is there, and this is a legit question because I'm playing with a toy about video, is that it creates hotspots in the video to highlight what you might want to know more about, like a hotspot of the cleaning supplies on the countertop, or a hotspot of the amenity in the room. Do you think that's going a little geekish? Like people would actually understand to use it, or just just show that it's there and leave it at the video? I mean, do you think it's worth the effort?
No.
Okay. No, I mean, honestly, I'm asking because I'm messing with it right now.
I love innovation, right? And I nerd out on it, and I think it's a lot of fun. But when you're dealing with the public, you've got to really cater to the lowest common denominator. And I think you can do experimental things that aren't mission critical, but I would keep it simple, stupid, as much as possible.
Stuart, you're right. Lily has shown up.
We're on topic, Lily. I promise.
No,
They
we
were
are.
for the first 25 minutes, but now they're on topic.
All right, just in time. Just in time to
Hey,
watch.
you're
God,
first
we're on
time
that topic
you're
just
really
now.
coming.
Lauren, going back to your camera thing you were talking about earlier, though, with you were talking about the 360 video you could do off of your phone. Sorry, you had a name for it. And I can't remember what it was called actually.
LiDAR.
LiDAR. Thank you, LiDAR. So if that is so readily accessible on something like an iPhone, is there any excuse for a hotel not to have 360 views of their lobby, hotel rooms, and things like that? Seems like it
Yes.
should be easy.
Because it's only available in the very top end of iPhone right now, and I don't think many other devices have it either.
Well,
So-
Google Street View will allow you to make 360 videos. That's always been around.
Right, but
this is more
the specific thing about device support, it's just starting. So should you have it on your roadmap? Absolutely. Are there other uses for it? Yes. So there are other reasons, but I think if we're using device alone, only the iPhone Pro model has it, and that isn't the high volume of the phone market, and I think one of Google's top of the line flagships has it as well.
Okay.
So
All right, and your local police station may have it. I won't tell you how I know
they
that.
they definitely do.
Oh, but
I
now
got
you want to know.
schooled. Yeah, I got schooled on. No, it's not radar. We caught you on LiDAR. Okay.
Yes. And LiDAR is really hard to pick up on a detector, and it's also very fast. So yeah, LiDAR is where a lot of the municipalities have gone to.
You know, another cool thing you can do with LiDAR is you can walk into a completely pitch dark room, and through watching through the phone, it's like night vision. You can see the whole room.
I mean, or you could just turn the torch.
Yay!
Or you just turn the light on. It's just an either or. But for the
Again,
geeks of
Lauren,
all of
when
us,
is enough
walking around in the
enough?
pitch
Lauren-
dark
Lauren
with a
is
phone
the-
in front of you is
the-
way more cool than turning a light on. I'm just
Lauren is the modern day Rube Goldberg. Like, why do anything the simple way? Let's.
If you can make it more difficult, but use 3 tools.
Well,
that's
just
more-
ask
I
my
mean-
wife about why all of our lights require us to ask them to turn on. Just
And if you don't say please, they flicker.
doesn't
Well,
happen.
It's really hard to stalk people when you turn the lights on. They notice.
Unless you've got LiDAR, Dean.
Yeah. See?
And I did
Modern-
learn something about
modern
Google
solution.
Assistant. When you do have a power failure and it does lose connection with all of your smart light bulbs, all the smart light bulbs just flash. So when you come home and your apartment or your condo looks like a disco, it's because your Google Assistant went off. Something I learned, just whether you can use that or not. Anyway, Lily, great to have you here.
Did we talk about the Pebblebrook announcement?
No, we
We
did not.
haven't.
No. Do we want to talk about that?
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
massive.
So yeah, well, I think you're going to see more of this. So let me pull up a link so we all have it. Pebblebrook announced a soft brand that they are creating, and it's a pretty big deal. Let's see here, Pebblebrook.
So let's talk about who was involved with this too, because
Yeah,
I think you have the
Well, a
list.
lot of big soft brand players out there, right? So you had your Benchmark I saw was in there. There's a
Viceroy,
Yeah, Viceroy.
Provenance.
Yeah. So this is a big threat to some of the established soft brands. I mean, it's a huge indication of the direction that this industry could potentially head.
Oh, good, Ben. Ben
Brilliant
already got it up. So, yeah, good job, Ben. So, I think I actually think this is Pebblebrook taking a look at what SVC recently did with their Sonesta moves. So we've talked about the SVC move a couple of times where SVC a few years ago bought a stake in Sonesta Hotels. And then with what's going on with COVID, used the opportunity where IHG and Marriott were both in violation of their performance guarantees with SVC. So SVC moved a total of 240-ish hotels off of IHG and Marriott and onto Sonesta, which now basically means SVC owns Sonesta for all intents and purposes. I think when you look at what Pebblebrook is doing with their move of Curator Hotels and Resorts, is first of all partnering with really smart operators. You have Noble House, you have Benchmark, you have Davidson, all not only involved in this, but some of them took part in investing in the actual soft brand. And then when you really look at what they laid out as the reasons to join as an owner, they're really going after what's going to speak to hotel owners, which is flexibility, but getting the benefits, low cost compared to going with a Curio or a Autograph. And if I'm Marriott, Hilton, any of these groups, I actually would be worried about this because when you look at Pebblebrook's collection of hotels, they have some iconic Hyatt and Starwood, Marriott properties that fit the mold of this Curator collection that they're putting together, and they're saying that they're aiming for 100 hotels to be part of this soft brand by the end of next year, and another 100 hotels behind that. Which again, if you look at just Pebblebrook, I'd be worried if I was, their relationship manager with any of the brands that they currently have flags on, because I'm guessing a lot of brands are in a point of weakness right now on their contractual lock-ins that they have.
Yeah. And I
Well,
think
what
it's
happened? Oh, sorry. So let's see what happens too is with a lot of your soft brands like an Autograph or whatever, pick your favorite. I'm not picking on any one of them by any means, but what tends to happen is that they're a pseudo independent hotel that is part of a brand. Well, the brand focus is on the brand. You just happen to be tagging along and getting some of the fringe benefits, the tech stack, some of the marketing and so forth. Whereas this is a soft brand that is all about independent hotels and is more focused on those independent groups. They don't have a brand. I mean, there's a brand identity with it, which is going to be valuable for them, but they're not focused on that. They're focused on being independent.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting that, they've essentially gone into this with management company partners. Like, here are your choices, right? I don't think that there's going to be an option maybe to not work with one of these management companies if you flag as one of these soft brands. So it's kind of an interesting mix up of ownership and management company, which probably helps Pebblebrook with some of the REIT-related restrictions that they have. And, they've obviously had relationships with these management companies over the years, and they've kind of already started in this direction, I feel like, with, for example, I don't know if you're familiar with what we affectionately refer to as the Z Collection in San Francisco, right? So they've got Zeta and Zeppelin and all of these different Zephyr, and they're between different management companies there already, some of these that have been named. But they all follow kind of similarities. And even those that don't, like when we visited their properties that are maybe actually branded, even still there, they've brought in their concept of a game room, which is a huge thing. Like, you can almost tell that you're in a Pebblebrook hotel if they have a really robust game room. That's a thing that they like to offer. So I think they've sort of been, whether they did it intentionally early on and then, this is the end result, or whether they kind of dabbled in it and then found opportunity this year, I think that they've really laid the foundation for this well over the last several years.
And again, to Dean's point about the independent hotel focus, I think Preferred Hotel should be seriously concerned, because Preferred has been a halfway house. I mean, they diluted their brand strata. They fractured it just to be inclusive. They've softened their requirements for people. You can't, if you go down to Preferred side, to me, frustratingly, it used to be there was 3 levels, basically bronze, gold, platinum, whatever they used to call initially themselves. Now it's all fuzzy names. There's no real way to determine what level each of the hotels are so that they can be inclusive. So I think probably in some way with Pebblebrook, if they maintain their strata of demand for what the property should be, then they'll be fine. If they start diluting it to become accepting of other properties that may not be of the same criteria as other hotels, they're going to follow down the same wrong path that some of these other places have ventured, like Preferred.
Yeah, I don't think Preferred are going to be as scared as Marriott's and
No. I think they should be, in addition to everybody we just talked about.
Yeah, but what's likely going to happen? I think we're going to see a trend. One of the criticisms of the brands, and not every brand, some have done better than others, is because they laid off a lot of people, they become really unagile, right? They're very stuck and mired in protocol and process, and they haven't been able to be flexible, and that's why they're pushing this flexibility promise with this new brand. Because you pick the 3 or 4 hotels have done the best through this pandemic, and every one of them, I guarantee, has the same characteristic, which is they've been really good at being agile. They figured new things out and tried them really quickly, and they've found some success doing that. You can't do that with a flag right now. You couldn't even, for the longest time, update your own website, the corporate website, with COVID-related information. It was locked down for a lot of brands. So if you're sitting there knowing you now have a legal out from this contract that is usually very watertight, in looking and saying, hey, these guys are jumping, they're deflagging. I mean, yeah, they're going soft brand, but they're really deflagging. Someone like Preferred is going to probably benefit from that a little bit too, because there's going to be other people looking for different options, right? Maybe this isn't right for them, but maybe Preferred is. So I think you're right. Some people will leave Preferred, but they'll probably benefit more from people deflagging and going to someone like that.
And that's really what I think they're probably going after. If you think about the fact that it's Pebblebrook leading the charge here, I have to imagine they're smart enough to know that if they really want this to kill, then they need relationships with finance.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they need to be able to get it to where you can have a hotel financed and still be a curator. And with Pebblebrook being, you know, the masterminds behind this, they have financial relationships. And so and if that is part of this, that is where they'll have a leg up on a Preferred. That's where they'll have a leg up on any of these traditional soft brands, leading hotels, things like that are more, you know, sales like related and GDS chain code. You know, if they take this and get a financial part of it, this is a real shot at Curio. This is a real shot at Autograph, and you know, Best Western and Wyndham and all these companies that have come up with that soft brand.
Personally, being a big fan of independent hotels, like I'm like, yay! I love these soft brands that allow hotels to have like more identity and more interest to them. It's still, I think, meets the criteria of, you know, what I like to look at as the business traveler profile. You want to know exactly what you're getting, but I think the proliferation of Airbnb in and of itself tells you that the market is hungry for more unique and authentic experiences. Now, that may not necessarily mean that they want to stay in an Airbnb, but some people may be doing that simply because they feel like they can't get that experience elsewhere. But when you talk about like a Preferred and a Curator, right? So let's just kind of look at the pros and cons here. If you are comfortable with saying, I have this, you know, whatever it was, 5 or 6 management companies to choose from, I have to go with one of them, I want this strong ownership group behind me, you know, that type of thing, then Curator's a great fit. Whereas others who may not, you know, I don't want the cost of a management company to be kind of factored in here, I don't want this or that. Bye, Ben. All of those types of things, then Preferred allows a lot more flexibility, because your average mom and pop, as long as they meet, you know, certain criteria, which I agree have become a little bit more fuzzy over the years, can go with Preferred, still have a type of representation, but not have to change the name of their hotel or do certain things. What I don't see in here that I'm really curious about, though, is what type of PIP requirements are they going to have for hotels coming into the brand? And what does the fee structure look like in order to be part of the soft brand, which I'm sure will develop over time.
In their press release, they do talk about the structure of cost being more aggressive than all the other choices, and the structure of commitment also being more flexible, which obviously we all know that's the start.
Right.
Over time.
Let's get them on board.
Remember Hotel Tonight's initial commission?
It was super low. Yeah, exactly. But I think this isn't the last you're going to see of this. I think because of how the brands handled COVID, I think they left themselves open to actions like this, actions like Sonesta has taken with SVC, and I'm willing to bet you Sonesta's gotten phone calls from other portfolio owners going, "How did SVC do this? And what's your structure? Why did they pick you?" Because like the IHG one, I think we all looked at the initial kind of shot as, "Oh, is IHG really going to let that portfolio walk away?" And then watched in shock as they did. And then if you look at how fast the Marriott one went, that's really,
there were some Wyndhams in there too.
Yeah, that didn't get as much coverage though, right? Yeah. I mean,
but there were some flagship Wyndham ones that went.
yeah. So if I'm the person at Hyatt or Marriott or Hilton that manages Pebblebrook's relationship, I'm I'm concerned because when you look at Pebblebrook's collection of W's, their collection of curios and autographs, these are, like key flags in key cities. Oh, and Kimpton. That's the other thing. Pebblebrook owns a lot of the good remaining Kimptons, the Monacos and things like that. This is an interesting move, and it'll be interesting to see what the likes of like Ashford does, right? Because think about them.
I think it becomes interesting too. I'm not a fan of loyalty programs, but they are one of the big advantages that brands will tout over independents. And it's hard for a small group of independents, even somebody like a Benchmark, who's got quite a few of them, right? But still, you don't have 6,000 of them. Right. So it's really hard for a 30 hotel group to have a loyalty program. But now if you have something like this, they can come together and they have a sizable footprint, and you can probably find at least one in every major city, maybe more. Now that becomes interesting.
I think, I immediately went to the loyalty program too, Dean. I was just going to comment on that as well. I think, first of all, to kind of your point, Ed, major cities are maybe not going to be their first target if they want their hotels to perform right now, maybe in 6 months or so. But I think also, like with the loyalty programs, I feel like there's a shift that has been needed for some time, because now it's kind of just obligatory. Like, great, I'm a card carrying member of every loyalty program. There's no true loyalty. You're just adding up points when it's convenient to your stay to happen to be at that brand. I really don't believe, like, there are some hardcore loyalists out there for sure, but I think it's maybe like 20% at most of all of the loyalty card carriers.
It's a scheme. Yeah, and all it is,
less.
it's not even real loyalty. It's just gaming point systems to get discounts, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a frequency program.
Once you get status, you do like it.
Yeah.
Well, and the people that were racking up the points aren't traveling right now because it was Road Warriors.
Like, I think that there's been a need maybe for a more personalized type of loyalty program. And actually, Kimpton's original, before they were with IHG, was probably the closest to this that I've ever seen. But I might be more inclined to stay with a hotel brand that I feel like they know me. So when I make my reservation, things are going to be automatically tailored to my preferences before I even arrive. And I don't think there's any brand that's done a really fantastic job of that. You have to have maybe some technology in place, sort of like a CRM or a guestware of some sort of customer relationship management software, in order to understand that and really keep track of it.
And you have to productize the offering as well to create consistency. So that's where you're getting into, what's on hand, what really can be offered. Because
that's
then
the risk. You don't want to promise it and not deliver it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Are there things, Lily, specifically that would benefit? Because you hear people theoretically talking about, okay, we're going to set the temperature to your preferred temperature in the room, or turn the lights to the right level. But to me, there's not tangible preferences I have. There's perks I want, right? I'd love to have early check-in and late check-out, and maybe a member-only discount, and maybe a discount at the food and beverage on property. There are perks.
What's your favorite drink?
Right. Well, but
yes,
I can tell the bartender.
But
if there's water for my hangover, and I'm good to go.
There's all these little things that you can do though when it comes to that. I mean, if they start to establish a pattern, like, hey, they always charge an old fashioned to their room, and then you go to some bar where maybe that's not on the menu, but they put an old fashioned cocktail like mixer set in your room or something, they automatically include one at check-in. Here's a coupon for your first old fashioned, or little things that recognize, like, hey, we're paying attention and we care about what you care about. For me, it would probably be like 3 gallons of water in my room, so I can refill my personal water bottle that I prefer to use. They would know that I prefer like a big gallon that I can use versus like a bazillion plastic water bottles.
Yeah,
I don't think they have a portable distillery for me yet. But it'd be a great idea for them to,
There's a
Yeah.
keg in it.
They just hook you up to an IV with pure alcohol as soon as you walk in.
well,
the
just
bathroom.
nurse says, "Hello, welcome here." Here you go.
See, for Lauren, all they would need to do is put on the television set any possible Sumo app that they
And
could
I'd be
load
like,
on the
"Whoa,"
TV
I'd
set,
be
and Lauren would
going,
be like,
"Must
"All right,
buy,
you
must
won."
buy." Yeah,
I'm-
Put a
absolutely.
green screen in his room. He'll be happy.
Yeah, you had me at hello, but I guess it actually touches on something else. You talk about how loyalty program has been defined up to this point, and it's been about a frequency and carrot on a stick or whatever, And what you're talking about is something that maybe eventually we can evolve into, and it's not so much about us signing up because we're just signing up to everything. It's recognizing the value of who they might be based on their proximity, on their travel interest or what have you, and giving them a value proposition that is meaningful to them because you have great CRM or that you have great research about them to give them some without being spooky, about something that might be of value to them for coming into the market. Like, here's a great guide to the local Korean restaurants because from what we look like, you love Korean food.
How do you
And
know
so-
that about me, Lauren?
It's just something I follow you on, stalk you, shadow, whatever, ghosting, whatever you want to call it. But the idea of it that you share that kind of information in a meaningful way to them so that they're like, oh, well, this is pretty cool that they're paying, to your point, Lily, focused attention on me. And it isn't always necessarily the discount or something, but it can be the perk, like Stuart said. It can be something that says, oh, that's pretty cool. I appreciate you're going to give me an early checkout. Or a check-in, or a late checkout,
It's risky, right? It's fraught. But I mean, one there's an oogie line that you can cross where you're spying on someone, and then they're like, how are you inferring this, or why do you know this about me, right? That you've got to be careful you don't cross a line there. Looking at what their
Or
receipts
Korean
are, that's kind of, I would have some concerns with that. But the more important one is, can you execute it effectively, consistently? Because if you can't, then you're worse off trying it than not trying it. Because the
Very
worst
true.
thing you can do is promise something and not deliver. It's I think it was Bill Burr did that bit a long time ago when Wi-Fi started appearing on airplanes, and how the first time, it was the second time he'd been on a plane with Wi-Fi and the Wi-Fi went out, and he was like livid, like how this is unacceptable. It's like, this is something you only just got like 2 days ago for the first time ever, and now it's unacceptable that it doesn't work, right? So you got to be really careful that you can deliver on your promises. I think starting simple,
Right.
and not necessarily getting ultra personalized, but just making people feel special doesn't need to be about them being specifically special. It's just you're treating them a little better than they expect, and so it is things like early check-in and late checkout, like I said.
The
Yeah, I
universal
totally
amenity-
agree. I think like there's this kind of like pie in the sky, like where we maybe eventually want to go. And I think sometimes hospitality companies and other companies, to be fair, like we're not there yet. So how can we possibly do this until we have everything perfect? We can't get there. So I think it's about progress and adding like little pieces at a time, to your point, Stuart. Like, what can we execute on well right now? Let's build it around that and then figure
Yeah.
out what we can execute
Yeah,
next.
I don't need the personally curated artwork in the room yet, right? Let's
Right.
figure out how the
but
basics work.
Depends how much you're paying for that room.
Yeah.
The
Paying
universal
$1,500,
amenity,
probably do that.
the universal amenity that everybody can do for a loyalty member, though, is a room upgrade. You don't have to spy on me and read my receipts to know that I like this or that. Upgrade my room and I'm a happy guy, right? And
But
that's
there
not
better be
just-
something like interesting about that upgrade. Like, don't take me from a classic to a deluxe that's like 20 more square feet and then try to make a big deal about how
Oh,
it's
yeah.
an upgrade.
Make sure that I can tell the difference. Yeah, absolutely. If it's just that, but most hotels, even a limited service hotel, probably has a suite somewhere in the hotel. Not all, but most of them do.
Right.
And you can't upgrade every single person. But when you do upgrade somebody, I tell you what, once they get that taste and they start liking that, even think about airlines. I was a platinum, I lived in Dallas, so I was platinum, whatever the heck it was with American, and I got my upgrades. Boy, I missed those when I was no longer platinum. So
Yeah.
once you start getting that, you miss it, right? And
Yeah,
that-
but you've got to be
Well,
careful, right? It can backfire. So I used to
Right.
do that when I lived in England and would visit. My wife is from America, and I flew back and forward a few times while we dated for a year. And I would always book British Airways. It cost a little bit more, but I knew there was a hack to the system. If I showed up about an hour before everyone else did the check-in, and I was wearing, business-looking clothes. 9 out of 10, I would get a free upgrade to business class, and it wouldn't cost me a penny. I'd buy coach, I'd get a free upgrade to business class, and I loved it. And I would pay more for British Airways just because I knew that would happen. And then all of a sudden, they stopped that policy. I've not flown British Airways once since that happened. It pissed me off.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing with the suite, right? So even a select service hotel that has one suite, but you have 10 loyalty members. Well, last time I got a suite, why can't you upgrade? I think you have to be really careful, kind of to Stuart, your point about consistency, right? As soon as, we've all
Things that you're able
flown,
to do every time.
yeah, where the Wi-Fi doesn't work, or we've all, where I don't get my upgrades. If I know so I flew a lot on Alaska for the same reason. I flew to Hawaii last year on 8 flights. I got upgraded 7 times. So, and I wasn't mad for it because I knew it wasn't a guarantee. I knew it was a, hey, based on your status and if you're lucky. But yeah, of course I'm going to spend a couple extra bucks and fly Alaska because, but to your point, Stuart, I knew the chances of me getting upgraded were good. But I think you have to be careful on the hotel front to set that expectation. I'm part of loyalty programs where I'm a high enough level that you get the upgrades, and I don't think I've ever gotten an upgrade unless I knew the person at the hotel and they were kind of
That's part of the problem.
Actually, I only ever get upgraded at a hotel when I'm traveling alone. It's never when I'm with my family or
When
any
it's
of
gonna
that
make a
stuff.
difference.
Yep.
Yeah.
But,
Never
there
fails.
are
I
certain
think-
commonalities. There's certain commonalities that you can do that you can make them feel special, but do it for everybody. There was a small little hotel I had in Virginia that we did this to everybody that checked in. We had this really neat local confectioner's chocolate box. And now you would just think it's a room amenity, but we put it in every arrival. But what we did do was every arrival got a personal card from the GM at the desk. So we didn't have to worry about trying to run in front of the room and drop it in the room before they arrived. And we just simply said, I hope you enjoy a small gift to you when you arrive into the room. They, for no other reason, even if they were traveling with other people and say, hey, I got these, oh, so did I. They still thought they were special compared to anybody else because really at the end of the day, everybody was getting it. But that little extra thing as an acknowledgement for thank you for staying with us, as standard as it was, made them feel very unique. And then I wonder, and this is a technical question for Stuart, eventually in time, if we have them connect to the internet, we see that they're searching for restaurants or types of restaurants or something, is it truly pervasive to then offer to them that we have a discount at a certain restaurant type that they were interested in looking at? Would that be spooky?
Depends how it's presented, right? I think if
Hey,
it's
we saw you're looking at Korean porn.
Yeah.
that. I
All
think if
right,
it's like
back on
serendipitous,
track. This is Lily
Okay.
coming in.
Maybe too far. Okay, that's too far. It's like a little Ted movie. Okay, that's too much. Okay.
Yeah, probably the
No, I
line
think,
there. wrong
Like
somewhere.
the best way that you can do it is when it feels like it was accidental.
No,
Yeah.
it either needs to feel completely accidental or it's incredibly clear why you're suggesting this to me.
Yeah.
And anything in between, you run the risk of it being super creepy.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and even being clear, I think, is risky after the fact, right? If someone's on your site and looks at the page and you're tracking that, and then you track that through the CRM, and you can bubble that data up to make the decision. Telling someone after the fact that's the level that you were tracking, I don't think is ever a good idea. I
No.
think that's a risk. If up front they start searching for Korean restaurants, Lauren, Korean, and then you say, hey, do you mind if we save this information so that when you stay with us, we can provide a free coupon? Being transparent up front, that's totally
I like
okay.
I like that. I think that sounds pretty cool.
Feels less magical to me, just on a personal level.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
I
think
also
magical's
think,
okay.
like-
But to pull off magical, you need to be
Yeah.
incredibly thoughtful.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because of that caveat, I highly recommend that any of our listeners do not try to pull off magical, because the thoughtfulness that's required to do it to where it will not be creepy, you're more likely to not be able to pull that off at scale than you
Mhm.
are to be able to.
Wait, Ed, are we
Well, and-
supposed to be able to give like practical advice on this show? I thought we
Yes.
were just here to debate
What?
like utopias.
No,
Yeah.
Hypotheticals and let them figure it out.
Hypothetical happinesses, folks. Come on, nothing practical.
Yeah.
No, I think
I
too,
think
like you
it's
want to
right,
think
right.
about the impact that each thing is going to have, though, right? Because as we're coming up on the holidays, there's a reason that you didn't grow up with a bunch of envelopes with gift cards under your tree, which is essentially what giving
because
a
they're the worst
discount.
gift you can give someone. They're so
Exactly.
not thoughtful.
Because that's exactly what, like, essentially an upgrade is. Oh, let me give you something for free. It may or may not apply to your stay, but I'm just giving you monetary value. And giving them a discount is giving them monetary value. Putting an amenity in the room, to Lauren's point, feels much more special. It feels more like a thoughtful gift. And I also don't think that it's like, if you want to do this, then you get into like the back and forth. Oh, but what if they're allergic to chocolate? What if they don't eat sugar? You know, there's so many things right now. I don't think there's anything wrong. And you can even use this as a direct booking incentive to say, hey, in the spirit of hospitality, we want to make you feel as comfortable with your stay as possible.
It sounded like
Please
you said
choose.
less comfortable.
As
It did sound
comfortable.
like you said less comfortable. I'm just gonna put that out
Well,
there.
maybe if you just listen more, Ed, that'll help. But we want you to be as comfortable as possible. So here is your choice of 6 different things. You know,
Yep.
it could be a
And I've
group
seen a
plan, it
couple
could
of
be
hotels do
whatever.
that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Do it
Yeah.
with like
Or
every
maybe-
single check-in.
Yeah,
It
or
costs
maybe
less.
are there anything you wouldn't want, right? Like, hey, because like you said, sugar, drink,
Like preferences,
Like, I mean, I'm not a big, I drink occasionally, but I'm not a big drinker. So if someone puts a bottle
How
of
are you
wine
in this
in my room,
industry?
I know I am a weirdo.
know. I
But someone
quit
puts a bottle
alcohol,
of
too.
wine in my room, it's not
You
honestly.
think that's coffee Lily's drinking?
Oh.
Really?
Now,
Sorry.
put a 6-pack of Diet Coke in the fridge, and I'm good to go. But absolutely, I think, and you made a really good point, right? For a lot of the hoteliers out there trying to do this, I think is really challenging, if for no other reason than everyone has different preferences.
Mhm.
I'm of the opinion, if I'm only in your hotel for less than 3 days, I don't want you cleaning my room. I've got the do not disturb on. I'm not a
Oh.
messy person.
That's who it is.
Alone. I just want to go in, out, and do what I need to do. I
That
want a late checkout so that my family can hang out and sleep in the morning on our last day. But like for us, it's mostly leave us alone. Let us just kind of
Yeah.
be it. If I need something,
It's about individual choice, right? It's
Yep.
about preference. And like to Lily's point, giving people, hey, you can have this or this or this. That makes me feel special, and it feels personalized, and it's not oogie, right? It checks all the boxes. We know that different people want different levels of cleaning right now, depending on where they are. Like we talked about earlier, everyone's at a different point of recovery with COVID. Some people want daily extra housekeeping. Some people just want new towels. Some people don't want to be touched, and giving people the choice, that, I mean, operationally it can be a little complex, but it can save you a ton of money because now you're not turning room or cleaning rooms and making beds every day.
the ones
And
I
let's be
love
honest, like-
is a loft.
Right.
Did that really well, where they gave you a card that said, "Hey, if you choose not to have housekeeping, here's a $5 credit per day to use at our breakfast," and things
Yeah.
like
That was
that.
all of Starwood.
I loved that.
Sandestin did it better because it was alcohol related. So they gave you two tickets per day for any drink at the bar.
Yeah,
I mean,
which
you
is
put
amazing.
free housekeeping for like the next 12 years for that.
Yeah.
I mean, no
You
question.
brings up a good point about
All
one
right,
other.
I gotta
thing.
run.
Sometimes.
Have a good
Oh,
weekend.
yeah.
Ed, take care.
Happy
Thanks, bud.
Thanksgiving. Bye.
Yep. Sometimes these questions, I mean, there's some platforms, nameless as they may be because I find them to be invasive, are offering you incentives to book to make that conversion. Like, we're going to give you this, we're going to give you this if you book, and so forth. I think that there's a value proposition. I wish Ben was still with us today, or Tris, one of the two. We can always ask them when they pop back on the show, of offering it after the booking through the pre-arrival process of saying,
Oh,
to
yeah.
your point, what is it that you would like to enhance your stay with us? Because all honesty, there is no reason in the world, every hotel, if they have tiers of Wi-Fi, we know from Stewart surveys, Wi-Fi is bread and butter. You can't tell them, do you want your water hotter or colder, which is the one just above it. But, the idea of having the ultimate Wi-Fi, even if you don't plan on using it for business, just having better. Everyone likes better. They don't like, I'm good, I want better. And so offering them better as a variable to after they've booked, and I think Melissa pointed out, the direct booking, especially if you're going to enhance the value of people booking directly with you, making this their first, they're the first ones to receive this option. Like, hey, and then of course, not to deter from those that didn't book direct with you, we'd love for you to book direct with us again. Should we be able to get your email or means of communicating with you? Can we give you this value proposition for that offer? And use
And I
it that
think
way.
not all things are made equally, right? There's certain things that you can do that are surprise and delight that have a massive effect. And you brought up Melissa. She recently stayed at a Kimpton in Asheville, and it's a pet-friendly property. And they knew that she was coming with a pet because you book and you pay a little extra if you're staying with a pet. So at check-in, she got 2 little doggy biscuits and a coupon to go to a local doggy bakery, right? So every guest that comes with a dog or with a pet gets that. And if you don't have a pet, you don't get it, right? That's really simple. You don't have to choose anything beforehand. It's surprise and delight. That's great. But then there's certain things like maybe breakfast that I might want to include during the booking process because it's a conscious decision
Yes.
I'm making about the
Yes.
value, right?
I'm not saying
then
there's an
others-
or it's an and.
Right. An additive thing, right? But then there's other things which are like new choices that should never be done before the booking. They should be done after the booking in pre-arrival messages, like room upgrades, because something like a room upgrade can drive tremendous more greater revenue once someone's already made the initial commitment. Once they've already committed that $500,000 or whatever, to tell them they're only going to spend an extra 100 or 200 on a room upgrade, psychologically is a lot easier for them than coughing up the entire money up front. So I think you got to be really deliberate about what the value is you're providing and where you introduce it in the journey of the guest.
And of course, I'm all about the meta-search. And I tell you what, with meta-search booking, do not get that process convoluted by any extras. Get the booking first. I'm a big proponent of not putting don't offer an upgrade, don't do all of those things. Get the booking and then offer all the extras in there. Because every step of the way, you're losing a conversion on that.
It's funny you bringing this up. I remember very specifically when I finally convinced Renee to travel with me when I was going back and forth to Shanghai. We were staying at the Renaissance, and we probably got the poor guy fired. So we go up to the front desk, and we're just staying. Well, he goes over and first off, he did excellent English, and he's like, we have this upgrade to our concierge level for X number of monies more, and we did the math real quick, and it was pretty cheap. It was what's included with the concierge? Oh, you get free food and free drinks, and we started calculating what all that would be, and we're like, sounds like, and plus we get a room upgrade, and we're like, wow, this is really great. We didn't eat hardly anywhere else for the entire stay we were there, except for a few places when we were out and about during the day. We came back to have dinner at that place where we got to eat for free and drinks, which is why we probably got the guy fired because he's like, why'd you give us, you've been here 4 hours, get out of here. But again, we wouldn't have made that choice in the booking process going over because we really didn't know the value proposition, what it was. Once we got there and we're seeing what we had and what we were thinking about, this now turned into a viable, that sounds pretty cool. We should do that. So yes, I believe there is stages of what gets offered. And Stuart, to your point, there are some things, yes, I just want to alleviate that problem. I want breakfast. Yes, add that in there. Get that done. I want, if you give me a discount for food towards it for lunch or whatever, sure. Yeah, based on what I know I'm going to be doing for my travels, that works out great for me. If I know I'm going to be gone the whole day, no big deal. I don't need it. So yes, and then by the same token, there's value incentives afterwards that you can offer that I think would be more reasonable to listen to after, to Dean's point, I've made the booking, I'm coming there. Now you're telling me I can get these other things. Sure.
Yeah, and I will say too, we have a booking engine product and it has an additional services module. So during the booking process, you can add certain things. And we've done a lot of testing. We love to test. We love the data side of stuff. And there's this conventional wisdom in the industry or in marketing in general that every click you add reduces the number of conversions, right? Which is mostly true. But when you look at the net result, we've tested this thoroughly. Depending on what you're offering, you can end up with same number of bookings, but a lot more revenue by having those prior to booking, depending on what they are. Room upgrades aren't that effective pre-booking. They're more effective after booking. But like I said, breakfast, some other add-ons like little niceties, even free stuff. Like we've done things where you can select to get a free coupon book for the local area and things like that. And that can actually improve conversion rate because people start saying, I don't get that on the OTAs. I'm more likely to book with you now because you're adding value but the OTAs don't. So I think we need to be careful not just to assume because there's more in the way that we're automatically going to get less bookings. The data doesn't suggest that's the case always.
That being said, there is a limit, right? So I'm going to use a
No
non-hospitality example here.
Why we test it.
Yeah, so Pet Lab offers a variety of different like treats for dogs that are for different health things. So I wanted to try out some of these. I had already made my decision. I went on and I went to order it.
Wait, were
right?
they for you or for your pet?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
I like to sample everything myself now.
Not good for you, not good for the dog. That's how I look at it.
Right. So I went on, right, I ordered, and then it was like, oh, but wait, like, do you want to add more for a discount? Okay, sure, no problem. And then it said, oh, but do you want to also add this other product, which, you know, here's this special offer. And I'm like, okay, it was a little annoying, but, you know, I don't really want this. So anyway, continue. It did 3 more of those before it allowed me to pay. I almost abandoned the cart. If I wasn't like, if I hadn't had it in my mind already that I was like, I'm definitely wanting to buy this, I would not have made it through that checkout process.
It's
so
a typical, but wait, there's more. And it's like, no.
Right, like one is fine, 2 is okay. Like beyond that, you're like, can you just let me pay you?
At that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, we let's not discount the human factor of this opportunity. And I say this particularly for somebody I was very impressed with, front desk person that I arrived and this was going to New York, and I didn't look for the exterior of the building or how big of a footprint it had, something. And the place had 44 floors. And I get there at the front desk, and I'm, at the time my knee was giving me heck, so I was kind of hobbling in. And as I'm there, I'm looking at the elevator, and people are waiting to get on the elevator. This is before COVID, obviously. Waiting to get on the elevator. The elevator's full of people coming out. People are waiting to get on. And I'm sitting there, I'm looking at it, and the front desk person watching me having walked in and looking at me look at the elevator, he says, I can put you on a lower floor so you don't have to fight the elevator so much. I'm like, thank you. Because that was being sensitive to just literally me just staring at the elevator going, wow, I got to factor in, I got to add another 15 minutes of travel time from whatever floor you're putting me on before I get back downstairs again. And the person was kind enough to look at it that way. And just, and so there is that factor at the front desk where you can see somebody and be like, you look pretty hungry. I mean, we're closed right now, but there's a really cool restaurant on the corner we happen to have this discount available for. Or, bars open if you just want to chill while especially if there's any delay factor in the room. That kind of personalization, like, you know what, we're going to make you wait a little bit because the room's not ready, but you know what, I'm going to move you up to a better room.
There's a word for that. What is it? What is that word?
It starts with an H,
I think.
right? I have to know though, Lauren, what does a hungry person look like?
Oh, me.
Lauren.
Like this. Especially if they're eating something, you're just looking at it going, you want to finish that?
Can I have one of those fries, front desk agent?
You gonna eat all those? Is it you done? Yeah, or you're staring at the restaurant menus. Yeah,
overdoing it, right? But I don't know if any of you guys have used the Walmart shopping app. We
oh yes,
almost always do Walmart pickup now, right? And they have this brilliant thing at the end of the process, because every time I'll go through and add all the things to the cart for my favorites, and then I go to checkout, and the window that comes up is, these are the items you usually buy that aren't in your cart right now. Are there any that you'd like to add? And every single time, there's at least 3 things that I'm like, oh yeah, I could use those again.
That's a much different mentality as well, too. Because remember, at that stage of the game, you've just spent 15, 20 minutes adding all of this crap into your cart. You've got your whole shopping list that you've added into there. So at this point, interrupting that purchasing process, it's not like you're just going to abandon it at that point in time because you've got one more item they're talking about. You're like, oh yeah, okay. So you're committed at that stage of the game. Whereas when we talk about a hotel buying one item, I always think of it, I gauge it by the old question, what would Amazon do? Right? Yeah. And Amazon's going to get you through that purchasing process as quickly and efficiently as possible. You click one button and the next thing you know, you just bought the VHS box set of MASH. And you're like, what the hell am I going to do with this? You don't, but who cares? You
Personal
fine, right?
experience.
Because they made it so easy. And that's the way you want that booking process to be. You want them to be able to go through that. Click,
to a degree, I don't know if I fully agree, though, because we did some experimentation, too, on what the Amazon shopping cart experience strips out the navigation, right? And so a lot of booking engines think that that's the way to do it because it's the way Amazon works. But when you really think about yes, it's a simple transaction, but it's a very thoughtful transaction, a hotel, especially if it's not like a last minute on a mobile device kind of booking. If we're looking at, I'm booking my week-long vacation for my family or my honeymoon or whatever, I'm bouncing around, I'm researching, I'm looking at multiple sites, I'm comparing things on the OTAs and this site and the hotel next door. I'm not just going through a linear path. It's a very circular and convoluted path. So taking what we found is people get into the booking engine for the first time, then jump out and look at the accommodations page or the amenities page, and then leave the site for a while and go compare prices and then come back. Maybe go to TripAdvisor. You've got to make sure your mousetrap has all the answers, right? You try to prevent people from leaving by putting.
Remember, from MetaSearch, they've already done all those things, right? So on MetaSearch, they've already done this rate comparison. They've looked at the reviews, they looked at the picture, they clicked a button that said book. They want to do one thing right there, and that is book a reservation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Okay,
People
I'll
spend
add
a lot of time on the site when they come from MetaSearch.
I'll add another layer to this, and I'm doing something different. You know how we talk about retargeting, and we've talked about frequency of retargeting based on the booking window. Obviously, the farther out, the frequency is a little bit more patterned and stretched out because you're trying to retarget them over a period of time compared to a short booking window of interest. 3 to 5 days out, you're going to hammer them a little bit more frequently between now and that time because you have a limited window of exposure. The same rationale goes to just because somebody booked 2 weeks, 3 weeks out from their reservation, you don't have that sealed deal. That's not a done deal. That's I got it booked, but I also may have booked in 2 or 3 other places, especially, and I learned this from the New York side of things. They're terrible about that. I mean, back in the day before all of COVID hit, you would have terrible cancellation percentages because people will mass book and then purge before they decided where they're going to stay.
I blame Robert Cole. He was the one that told everyone to do that. It's his fault.
Yeah, well, it is his fault, and it's true. So you have to actually enhance the value proposition of why, after they booked with you, use that ability to reach out to them to reinforce the value of what you are in comparison to others. That's when you need to start feeding them your proximity information. That's when you start needing to feeding them your amenity information to really validate the fact that you're the better preference than compared to possibly what else they've ever done. And even if they haven't booked elsewhere and just booked you, it's reaffirmational. So that by the time they may go back and re-question, to your point, Stuart, they're looking at it from the comparison of I've already gotten comfortable with this decision. I'm comfortable with the additional information that's been given to me, so I'm going to stay with them.
Yeah, you want to make sure you don't tap into. Everyone has a little buyer's remorse whenever they spend money, right? And so you want to make sure you don't exacerbate that. I don't know if you listened to a recent episode of the podcast, episode 169 of Your Hotel Marketing Podcast, but we talked about exactly this. Like once the conversion online is done, you're not done. Until they come and stay with you, your job is still at hand, and you've got to make sure you keep that reservation. One of the worst things I've seen, and Phil brought this up, I think on the show, or maybe after the show, but he saw a website where he purchased something, and I don't know if it was hotel or not, but then the email confirmation email said, if you want to cancel this order, was the first thing that came up. I'm like, well, you want to give people the ability to do that, but that's not what you want to promote front and center, because that's creating a sense of doubt. Well, why
were they asking you to cancel? And also, too, get you off the retargeting. Don't browbeat them to death that you show up everywhere now because they booked with you. Get them off of the fact that the conversion means get them off of your retargeting process, because that also turns into the, oh my God, these people are annoying. Why do I want to stay there? Whether it has nothing to do with my stay, it's just the fact that they're annoying. They're on every website I'm going to.
It would be really cool if you had a CRM that did that automatically.
Do you know of any CRMs that
maybe the pure AI-powered CRM, maybe?
Hey, by the way, did you notice in your Walmart pickups, which, by the way, Renee's doing our Thanksgiving Walmart pickup today, which you talking about blowing out the Walmart should send me a Christmas present for the stuff that I want. She's like, really? All this? And I'm like, yep, need it all. She's like, it's one.
And you're like, it's just the two of us.
Need it all. So anyway, do you notice all the extra toys and stuff they throw into your bags now? All the extra promo stuff?
Well, the one here, they give you a specific promo bag that has like free samples and stuff.
Yeah, a bunch of little samples, because you're not combing the aisles anymore. You're not doing the impulse buying of, oh, look here. So they're throwing this stuff in, which is terrible, because it's like, oh, this coconut water is tasty. We should buy some of that.
Advertising
sample, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty good stuff. You know, I wouldn't have bought coconut water, but dang, it was tasty. And sure, I'll pick some more up. And they seem, remember, they put that in your little list. So when you forget stuff, they're like, I remember buying that, but that was pretty good. So going back to something a little older, of the pet friendly stuff. And you know, I've complained about this before. Tamara's right. Don't do it alone. Yeah, I'd buy an impulse buying squirrel. But the pet friendly, I'm really, I almost feel like I want to have a website that's, you're not pet friendly if you're charging $100 a day. You're not
That's
even,
not
you're barely pet tolerant. Okay. You know, these places, these hotels, and they're not even resorts, they're hotels. You're staying the night and you're paying in some cases almost as much for your pet to be with you that one night as you're paying for them to stay, for you to stay at the hotel. And the hotels are looking at it as additional funding. There is no fee requirement to have a pet. There is no liability. Well, if the pet does damage to the room, yeah, basically when you rent a room, so to speak, for a hotel, you're liable for any damages, regardless of whether it's your pet or not. You're still liable for the damage. You don't have to charge to do that. Is there a higher likelihood that a pet can damage your room? Potentially, but it's like resort fee. It's like you're really just getting free money. And
When did you become so socialist, man? This is free market, you know, supply and demand. You know, if
Okay.
people are willing to
and
pay
I'm
it,
okay.
the demand is limited. What's the problem?
I'm okay.
I can't believe you're advocating for hotels to make less money right now.
Well,
Terrible.
yes, when it comes to the fact of charging for unnecessary things. If you're going to charge a pet fee, there's no pet friendly, which means you can't have a pet at all unless it's a service pet. Then you have pet tolerant, which is I'm going to charge you per day. Okay, but if that's the case, do something you said, Stuart. Give me some treats, or no, what is it? Give me some treats. Give me something. You know, I've been pushing with one of our clients about they give bandanas. Everybody puts for dogs. Everybody will put a bandana on their dog, just even if it's for a day. They go get their hair cut, you know, at the groomer, and they come back with a bandana on. So and they'll do Instagram shots and they'll do social shots, and it's like, why not? Because there's two ways to get to somebody's heart: take care of their kids, take care of their pets. You do both of those, they're going to like you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could be treated terrible, but if they treated your kids good and you treated your pets good, yeah, you know, they might be okay.
I think it's fair to charge a little extra to have a pet. I think you
I'm
can
not
make
against
the
it.
argument that the wear and tear is probably
I'm
going to
not
be
against it, but make it a value
business
proposition. Make it a value proposition. Give them a little plastic bowl with
That's
your
what
logo,
they're doing, right?
forever used. Okay,
Yeah.
give them some treats at the desk when they check in for your pet. That's endearing. Give them a bandana that they can wear around, because it also means that you can prove that the pet was checked in, rather than, hey, is that dog been checked in? Oh yeah. What room are you in? Where's your room? You know what? Gotta go. Poop walk.
Yeah. I mean, I think you've got to be realistic with what you're charging, but I think ultimately the value is that you get to bring your pet to a hotel. Not every hotel can you do that. So the market's
And
going to
there's
decide.
not that many like Airbnb too, right? So
Mhm.
Airbnb owners tend to be, at least in my experience as I've been looking, there's a lot less pet friendly Airbnbs than there are pet friendly hotels, I feel like. Could just be
Yeah.
where I'm looking. Yes, Lauren has had all the coffees.
To Stuart's point, though, it is challenging to have a pet in the room that you're renting to somebody, whether you be an Airbnb or a hotel or whatever, because pets have accidents,
Right.
and that causes problems. Even if they don't do that, they lose fur. All right, so you're doing you're going through your housekeeping, your house cleaning, and you miss somebody's fur that was left in the corner. The next guest finds it, and they're mad at you for it.
Or that they have an allergy to it, or that it leaves an odor, or
But that okay, that's logistics, and I'm not saying no to fees. Please understand that. But there's a difference between intolerant fees that give you no value proposition. I'm charging you $100 per day for your pet, regardless. Then there's fees that says I'll charge you $100 for the time you stay, up to 3 to 5 days. Fine, because there is additional cleaning that goes under the room, what have you. But add some value proposition to it. Well, you're paying for something, get something.
the
And
value
so-
proposition is you get to have your dog. And you get to choose whether that's a value you're willing to pay for or not. I mean, that's,
I will also say, as a responsible pet owner, I will never bring one of my dogs to a hotel because I know I will be paying to replace everything.
for every responsible pet owner, there's probably a lot more irresponsible ones, right? So
Yeah.
Well, you can decide whether or not that makes me responsible or if I should have done a better job of training. But
But again, if
What's your
hotels are
best
charging for
opinion?
these things, there should be dog walks, there should be doggy bags, there should be
Sure.
the associated necessity spaces for those things since you're
if that's
paying
the
for that.
niche you want to go after, go for it, right? But I don't think I don't think you have to do that to say that you're pet friendly. I mean, that's
Okay.
pet friendly to the extreme. That's like saying that if you're family friendly, you have to give every kid a sticker and a hat and candy. Like you don't have to. You
But
just
by
have
the
to
same
do
token,
that.
what would you feel about having to pay extra for your child, even though there's no extra space necessary for them?
Well, I mean, you would, right? In some cases, some people have extra occupancy fees. Like if it wasn't a room that slept 4 people already, and you wanted to have an extra 2 people, some people do charge extra. for that.
You wouldn't stay at that hotel, and also, when was the last time you ever had a rollaway? I mean, really? I don't even-
Make my kids sleep on the floor. It's fine.
You put just a few baby diapers in that trash can in the bathroom, and it's forever changed the odor in there. So yeah, that's right
My
up there.
kids eat the furniture and all kinds, you know. Yeah.
Oh, that's so sad. Possibly true, but sad. I just, again, it goes back to the other fees, and then there's also pet-friendly hotels that have restrictions as to where the pets can actually go beyond the safety restrictions of pet. Pets can't be around pools. That's a given. Pets can't be in restaurants. That's a given, unless permission for outside, what have you. But there's actually, it says it's a pet-friendly hotel, but the pets can't go literally anywhere. They literally can be in the room. And then the other part to it too is make it a little bit more fun. Put a little door hanger that has the pet's name on it so that housekeeping knows that the pet's in there. Little things that are endearing to the fact that the pet owners, especially now where so many people now have pets that don't have pets before because of what's going on with COVID.
And
So-
here we are back at Utopia.
Yeah. Do you travel with pets? Ron?
Huh?
Do you travel with pets? Do you have
Used
pets?
to. Used to, yeah. We have little Edison, which is nowhere to be found right now. He's out front getting
I was
sun.
going to say, I've never seen you traveling with a pet, and you seem awfully passionate about this subject.
Yes. Well, when I travel with Renee and Edison, this is my passion. When I travel by myself, it's like, what, a pet? What? Gosh, I can smell it in the room I'm out. No, I have a big love for pets. And
Yeah, I mean, you're right about the fact that getting someone's heart to feel like this is the brand that I'm always going to stay with. If you treat their pet special, like they're the thing, then people are going to do it. I mean, Melissa will always stay at Kempton now for that exact reason, because they
And
always
if
make a
it's
fuss about that.
if it's not the pet, then the way to the heart we all know is through the stomach. So
Mhm.
you've got those options.
or the bar. Can just
Yeah,
throw that in there.
Usually, whatever's at the bar goes through the stomach, Lauren.
Well, yeah. Or they bring the bar to the room. Just any rich very combination. Oh, look, wine, amenities. Yay. I love this place. No, it is. If we do, I guess probably the boil down to is that we have to be creative with our engagement with the guests and not just treat it as a check in. There's the key. Go up the elevator. We'll see you when you get out of here.
Yeah,
That
try
there
to
is that.
care.
Yeah, be hospitable, be an innkeeper. You do that, and the rest is fairly easy. Hey, can we
Yeah.
talk about TripAdvisor and their new club? I think Adele had sent a link out. I'd seen
Oh
it.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
It's just and of all times for Adele not to be on the show, the Miss TripAdvisor
Right.
herself.
yeah. So for those of you who haven't read the article, TripAdvisor has announced that they're coming up with this members club, which is going to cost $99 a year, and it's still a little fuzzy about what they get for it, but it sounds like it's discounts and special offers that are exclusive to club members. So think of it kind of like the Spirit Airlines does their $9 fare club. You have to pay an annual fee for. This is an interesting pivot for TripAdvisor, right? But the strategy I think is smart, because we've been talking for how long about how really TripAdvisor and the OTAs in general could become obsolete over time, because that Google really is the gatekeeper to their business. Like, the vast majority of folks that go to TripAdvisor come through Google now. It didn't used to be the way that it is, because TripAdvisor was synonymous with reviews. TripAdvisor was the destination, but now people kind of gone away from that because TripAdvisor lost sight of what made them great. They were really good advocates for consumers, and they've gone too far in the way of the hotels. So this is a play for me that if TripAdvisor executes it well, which I think we could debate whether that's likely or not given their track record, it could take away some of the control that Google has on them and make TripAdvisor a destination again where people begin their search, which I think would be a good thing for their shareholders. So
I
discuss.
think it could be very interesting. They've got to get buy-in, obviously, first. If they don't get any buy-in, then nothing else I say next is going to matter. But if they do get some buy-in, so now they start having these member rates and these special rates, and again, I'm going to take it back to MetaSearch because that's where I go. But again, Google, a lot of their traffic is generated by MetaSearch, including even TripAdvisor advertising on Google Meta, right? So now all of a sudden, if TripAdvisor has a closed user group rate, can they start marketing that on Google just the same way that a hotel would market their loyalty rates, right? Where you see it's crossed out and says, hey, get a lower rate here with membership. It meets all the criteria, all the qualifications. But now all of a sudden, as soon as we start doing that, we've been fighting these battles with wholesalers undercutting our rates for years. Finally getting a grip on that, does this cause a problem with another closed user group? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know.
100%. And that doesn't solve our problem as hoteliers, right? Because now, like, we want as many middlemen out of the pie as possible, right? And right now, you literally could have a situation where someone goes to Google and does a meta search, lands on something like Trivago, another meta search, or TripAdvisor, another meta search, and then ends up on Expedia and books. And then you've got Google, TripAdvisor, and Expedia all taking a percentage of your booking, essentially, right? Although they're not physically taking a percentage, someone's paying for it somewhere along the line. So ideally, if we could get someone like TripAdvisor to become the destination where people start and end their booking, it's a better scenario for us. There's fewer hands in the cookie jar. But I personally don't have confidence that TripAdvisor will pull this off. But I think, to me, it's interesting that they're trying something new. And we've talked a lot about having to reinvent yourself and pivot this year and be agile. And this is, I think, the beginning of what we'll see a lot of. A lot of people are going to start trying new revenue stream models, new strategies to try to attract guests. OTAs are probably going to follow suit with something similar, would be my guess. And they're all going to call it Expedia Plus and TripAdvisor Plus and whatever plus, because every member-driven everything except for Amazon Prime right now is something plus. So that's what they'll do. I guess
that's fair.
My first reaction to when I saw this was I thought they did it backwards. Just my personal. It's kind of equated, and I don't know why things pop in my head the way they do. Gosh, my wife tries to figure that out too.
No one will ever know.
No, I don't.
I'm not worried about what's going on.
Would you buy a cruise club right now? $99. Get discounts at cruises.
Go for it. It'd be hard for me to join any travel-related club without knowing what I get.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
You
right
know,
now,
I'm so used to getting discounts. I probably wouldn't join any club that only offered me a discount, because then I'm like, okay, now I have to do the math and figure out if the cost of joining outweighs the discount.
that's the thing. If you're going to pay for it because you're about to use it, you don't join AAA because you're never going to drive. You're not going to join a cruise club if you're not going to cruise. Right now, nobody's going to do the cruise thing for a while. They're not even operating. They went and tried it, and it didn't work too well.
I know, man. Those cruise people are crazy.
That's true. That's true. But the idea of whether to use it or not use it, they're asking for people to pay for something that they may themselves not directly use. And to your point, Lily, discounts are already there for incentives as well. You have to really be doing something very unique for me to say I'm going to pay that much money to get something of value that I think that compensates for. Like when you do Amazon Prime,
2-day shipping.
you're like me. I mean, I saved it in shipping, dudes.
Yeah,
I mean, the Amazon dude knows my address. He knows exactly where to put it on my doorstep because it's in the shade. He he doesn't even send me a picture. He just like, Lauren, dude, coffee and your box is there. So there's a value proposition to if you're going to spend for something like that. To me, TripAdvisor should have said, we're going to start this. Sign up. Let's then give you the value proposition of being a participant to this, that you took the initiative to join us. And then, and I know this is going to piss people off, now we're going to start incrementing a value to spending with us to get more value proposition. So that it's, now you have an audience to talk to beyond just the user audience, people that have said they've taken the extra step. Maybe you create an incentive. Hey, good luck. You were the early adopter. You get in. You don't have to pay for the first year for nothing. Okay? We're going to give you all this benefit. But if you like it, then it's going to cost $99 the second year. I did that with the loyalty. I told you that from way back in the day. We gave everybody, when we first started a loyalty program, the second best tier just for being a repetitive guest to the resort. And then if they liked it, which means that they proved the value for having it, then they paid for keeping that level of relationship with us the following year. And we got a lot of people that did that. You know, we proved the value first before they spent the money to have.
Lauren's talking in code. He's not really talking about a hotel. He's talking about when he used to push drugs. 100%.
Well, there is a drug marketing scheme of getting
There
people
is.
to pay. But that's just me.
Taking it back to what would Amazon do? It's exactly what you described there, right? I can get Amazon Prime free for whatever 3 months, which I'll then use over the holidays and cancel. But that aside, it gives me the opportunity to try it out and see if I like
Wait,
it.
what? Whoa. You don't have Amazon Prime?
Amazon.
Wow.
Wow.
You're like living under a rock somewhere.
Yeah, I feel like we just uncovered a Neanderthal, like that we just
Yeah.
dug up someone from the dinosaur ages.
Evolution is true.
You really don't have Prime?
I do every now and then when I need it, and then I ditch it.
Wow.
So I think really like all of this comes down to if you can make somebody's life easier or better. Right. Like that's the core. That can be manifested in multiple ways. For me, using Amazon, it's not just a like, oh, I need to calculate whether or not I'm going to save this in shipping, because guess what? I get my stuff faster, and I'm the type of person who doesn't always plan ahead. Like, I like to know that there's a birthday coming up that I forgot to get a present for, and I can just send it right out there.
Wait. You're the most organized person that I give credit to. You can't be that. You can't have those chinks
I
in the
have
armor.
this great facade, which is covering up a large team of people who manage me.
When you tell me, when you ask me to do something, there's a list right underneath of it of all the things that you're asking me to do specifically.
She's
the way you
thorough.
want.
She's not
I'm
organized.
thorough, not yeah,
Yeah.
very different.
Yeah.
You know, just planning ahead and knowing what day it is. Those are things that I struggle with. So I think like that, and now they're moving towards 1-day shipping, which is great. So also though, it's de-risking it, right? Because I know that if anything goes wrong with this product, I can return it for free with no hassle whatsoever. In fact, now all I have to do is take the product itself, not even in a box, to UPS and hand it to them, and they will box it for me and return it and put the label and do all of the things.
Yeah.
It would be even better if they picked it up from me, which I assume will come later. But
Well,
they've made my life easier, and now I find myself holding every other online retailer to Amazon standards. Like, I don't know if I want to order from them. I will pay more if I can find this product on Amazon.
Yeah, like 5-day shipping? What is this? I can't wait 5
Right?
days.
Some of them are still 2 weeks. Like,
I know.
what the
I
heck?
just ordered a couch for my mother-in-law. It's going to be 14 weeks. I'm like,
What?
what?
Wow. But
I
that's your
didn't even
mother-in-law. You
plan
did that
that
on
far
purpose.
ahead.
You can't hide behind that, Stuart.
I don't even know where I'm going to live in 14 weeks. I mean, anything could happen.
You did that on purpose. Look, I bought you a couch. 14 weeks later. Okay, so just to see if we have the true unicorn Bigfoot. So, Dean, do you have Disney Plus?
I do.
Ah, whew, okay.
Oh, see, that
okay.
I don't.
I've got a kid. I've got an 11
Okay,
year
just checking.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Amazon Prime, I mean,
Were
video.
your kids shows on Disney
okay.
Plus?
and I had to watch Mandalorian. So, you know.
Right. This is the way.
You know, I did a Dean thing here, right? When they released Hamilton, I definitely signed up for the free trial on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Then I found out I had to pay for it, which was fine. I literally think I paid $30 for a month of Disney Plus in order to watch Hamilton, and
Yeah.
it was worth it.
Disney
But
Plus is $5 a month, or it's
Okay,
$12.
whatever it was.
It's $13
keep
with
changing it.
ESPN Plus and Hulu as well. It's like
And then,
crazy.
you know, by the way, if you happen to have Roku stock, congratulations for having the foresight of buying it, because it is freaking off the chart right now.
Oh my gosh.
And also, right now, this is the time to be in those mediums like Disney Plus and All Access and stuff, because right now the big movie producers are like looking for places to put out their product. And they're not, you know, with the increased lockdowns, they're pushing this now on these platforms. There's first-run movies that are coming out now that are going to be on these platforms. That
Well, look at what Disney's doing with their like premiere stuff. So you actually license the subscription, but then they pay you. You have to pay again extra for specific releases.
Specific stuff, yeah.
So
Now, the only one I've seen them do that with is Mulan so far. Have they done it with anything besides that?
yeah, I'm trying to think. There's another one that's coming out that way, and I don't remember what it is. But from what I read, Mulan was a success, and they're going to try it with more content. So
See, I thought
they,
there was,
they,
there was
may
good
have already happened.
Yeah.
Was that?
Hey, yeah, speaking of and coordinating too, because Lily, you brought up something you didn't know if it was completely in context to do, but you brought up Hamilton, and you have the little Google Assistant that has a screen on it, and upcoming was when I blew off everybody at the digital or the marketing conference and go to Hamilton in person this past year, early,
You
which
had
is
to
like a
do that.
generation ago.
There was no question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
only mad that I didn't also have the opportunity to blow everybody else off and go to him.
So the pictures I took when I was at the theater seem to have an extra magic to them now, because it was really one of the last times that being out and about and so forth before everything started coming lockdown in March and other than the conference I got to share meaningfully with Stuart. Last hug from Stuart was in March 12th, 2020.
You remember the date? Wow, that was quite a hug.
Yeah, well, it's memorable, but
Every hug from Lauren is quite a hug.
it's but going and seeing Hamilton in person, in as much as I loved it on Disney Plus, it made it more special because I saw it in person. And you're talking about, we're going through this whole thing now where it's getting way worse again. Not, and I had an argument actually with Ed. Does it have to be worse than it was before to be still bad? Just lose one person. It doesn't matter how many other thousands get lost. It's that one person you lost, or the one person you knew that got lost. And so it doesn't have to be worse than July to be worse. It's worse than what it has been. It's gotten worse, and it's continued to get worse. It's affecting areas like Dean's that never got affected before. And it is by far, in ways as bad as ever because of the losses and so forth. That is, you're catching that at the end of a cycle. And I guess maybe why you brought this up, Lily, was we had so many troopers through our industry that tried to survive until they saw the end of the tunnel, light at the end of the tunnel. We thought we were getting closer to it. We thought we were coming through it. And then all of a sudden, nope, that light was a train. And now we're back into the thick of the darkness again. Yes, we have things that are coming up, hopefully, that will help us, but it's not going to get better for the holiday where we had hoped it would have been.
Not for the holiday.
And the holidays, I guess, yeah. And so, the depression is a real thing. People going to work, real thing. How to be happy and helpful and hospitable to people when you yourself are struggling with that same feeling is a powerful discussion to have in hospitality right now. Regardless of the marketing, we're kind of in a polarity. We're telling people there's an opportunity to travel with us because we want you to. We also want to make sure everybody stays safe and not to, we want people to be able to survive by business as well. So anyway, I kind of opened the door for what you wanted to say, Lily. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I just wanted to, because I think that this really affects everybody, talk a little bit about something that I feel like we kind of gloss over in the hospitality industry. We don't really talk about the whole person very often, maybe as much as we should. And there's a lot of kind of bravado in the industry, which is often covering up some themes of different types of emotions. But the one that I wanted to just kind of talk about a little bit today was grief, because I think that at some point this year, whether or not we're in it right now or not, we've all experienced a type of grief. And one of the things about grief is that it's very nuanced. So to your point, Lauren, there's kind of the obvious, I lost my hotel, or maybe I lost a family member or a friend to COVID. There's a lot of different ways that you can feel grief, but those are kind of the obvious ones. So for those who may need a little bit of validation today, I wanted to explain a little bit about two types of grief. And one of them is called anticipatory grief. So this is when you're expecting something to happen that will cause you to grieve, and so you begin grieving before the event even happens. So this might happen if you're fearful that you're going to lose your hotel, or you're fearful that you're going to lose a family member or somebody close to you, or you could be fearful of just about anything, right? But it actually begins the grieving process in advance of the actual loss. And sometimes as a society in general, we downplay that, like, it hasn't happened yet, like, buck up, everything's fine. And so I think that really taking a moment to honor and feel that grief, it is a valid type of grief that people need to process. And the other one that's kind of nuanced is ambiguous grief. So the obvious example of this is when somebody that you love gets Alzheimer's and you begin to grieve the person who was, because that's no longer the person that they are. So you have lost them, but not physically, perhaps.
Right.
And I think that also becomes nuanced. And what I find, this has been true for me this year, that I'm dealing with ambiguous grief, but less about a person and more about the way things used to be, right? Like, I hate the term new normal for multiple reasons, not just this one, but it's always my hope that we'll go back to the way that things used to be, because I feel grief about not being able to experience life in the way that we used to before. I don't want us to have to wear masks for the rest of our lives and things like that. So just kind of dealing with these different types of emotions, I think I want to encourage people, especially as we approach the holidays, because a lot of emotions come up around the holidays. You may have anxiety about being with your family. You may have, sadness or grief about not being able to be with your family. There's all different things that can happen. And I think that sometimes we judge ourselves for having these emotions, right? Because we're like, oh, we don't have it that bad. Somebody might have it worse than me, or maybe we feel like something that we're feeling isn't valid. But I find that if you just allow yourself to be with it for a little bit, the only way to move through these emotions is to actually experience them and come out the other side. The more you push them down, the more it's going to result in anxiety and anger and all of those things. So really taking a moment to kind of honor what's going on for you right now as we deal with all these, what if things shut down again? Oh, but there's a vaccine. We're getting so many mixed messages all the time. And I think it really can do some damage to our psyche if we don't take a moment to just kind of honor the process and be with it. So that's just what I wanted to share today.
Well said. I think one of the ones that I've seen in the ambiguous grief that I don't think people realize, but they're just sad and they don't know why. And to your point, I think a lot of people are realizing they've lost a part of themselves because their job was their identity. Either they lost their job or the job has changed a lot, or they're not traveling like they used to they're not the person they were, and that was their identity. And so there's a lot of folks, I think, that are struggling with that. Like, who am I in this new normal, in this world? Because I don't recognize the person that I've become. And yeah, it's tough to deal with.
I'd even add to that, we all know from being in the industry, you put on your game face. When you walk out, you can have whatever turmoil's in the back of the house, but when you're in front of the house, you're centric on guests and so forth. And I think the biggest moment that I think back to is when Robin Williams died. Here's a person that was everything you thought about joy. I mean, the man was amazing. And the happiness that he spread, but little did you know the inside was so sad. And we can get lost personifying everything's fine, remain calm, we're good, we're here for you, we're gonna, and you can make that shell, but in the meanwhile, if you're not taking part of the internal, you're not satisfying all the things you just pointed out about the anxieties, the apprehensions, the fears, all the things that are core inside of you, and you begin to put this outward shell, all of a sudden it can collapse on itself. You lose, to what you just said, Stuart, the identity. You're portraying one thing, but in fact, you're something else, and people don't see it coming. We have so many examples. Robin Williams is just one of them, of the outward looking veneer is everything's great and happy, fine, where the inside is a loss, and people that were amazing at that, and people that you respected had great insights to the world, the Bourdain, when he was traveling the world and shared all the things about the joy of life and so forth. And then here that happens. It's just, so if it can happen to people like that, it can happen to any one of us at that sense. So we put out an outward appearance, but inside we can be poor. To be careful of that and to be open about that. I think probably the key element to that is don't be fearful of sharing that. Of if you're feeling apprehensive, if you're having the anxiety, make sure that you're not the only one that knows that. That, making that way, even the advertisement, that awkward moment, take advantage of noticing to people that you know best, something's not right, or you seemed a little, you normally are different, or, whatever, and make sure that it gets brought out, because keeping it to yourself, it's like when you're exercising, you want to lose weight. If you don't want to share with everybody else so that they can give you incentive because you're afraid they're also going to criticize you, you're not really dedicated to it. You got to really share out and say, hey, I need help. I want to make a change in my life. And I think you guys are going to keep me in line with that. If I share with you that that's what I want to do. Same thing with this. You got to make sure that people know that you're struggling with your identity, you're struggling with your purpose, or struggling with staying happy, given all the things that are going on. So yes, it is a point that does get glossed.
I think
Yeah.
that I was scared of that vulnerability for years, thinking it would affect my job prospects, my employee reviews. And in hindsight, I worked in a few toxic workplaces where maybe it wouldn't have been appropriate to share. So if anybody listening feels like they're in that situation and they don't have somebody to share with, I just want to say that my door is open. I'm always happy to have those conversations. I also have a great, we don't really know what to call her, but I would say a therapist is the closest thing. She's really kind of more magical than your typical therapist. But one of the reasons that this is on my mind is I went and did some deep work with her this past weekend, like 2 6-hour days of really digging through all of this. And I know that she's just really great at being able to help support and give space for that type of processing as well. So if anybody needs a recommendation, I'm always happy to help with that.
Yeah,
And
and I would say in general, there's a stigma associated with mental health, and
For sure.
use the word vulnerability. I think the more we talk about it, openly in situations like this and publicly, and acknowledge that everyone goes through challenges like this, I think it becomes more normalized, and people feel a little better because they realize, they're not so different, and they're not, strange, and that they can talk to people about it, and that it's okay. And they have, going back to that word we used earlier, they have permission to deal with this openly and without shame. It's something we all deal with. And there's a lot of resources. One of the things that's been really good about COVID is seeing how many folks have rallied together to try to help with mental health issues and things like dealing with grief and all the challenges that have come. And so there are a lot of online therapists now that are free, or a lot of healthcare providers, even like our Blue Cross Blue Shield is offering some free resources if you just need someone to talk to. And everybody needs someone to talk to at times, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Ironically, it's when you brought this up, Lily, in the email, I'm like, wow. I mean, either I'm in sync with what you're thinking, or I just happen to be inspired that I'm following a great lead. But when this COVID first started, I did that open chat room, We Are Hospitality, and I did it every day at noon for people to come and just talk. It had nothing to do with a show like this. It had we seem to have a commonality of hospitality. If you want to talk about the weather, you want to talk about whatever. And I was going to start it right after Thanksgiving again, because holidays are down. I mean, they can be downers, especially if the traditions that you're familiar with aren't able to be done this year, which we know is true.
Right.
And that isolation is even compounded more because the relief of being able to at least have the holidays with family isn't even there. And then you add it to the stresses of maybe what you're doing, whether you're employed or not employed, and all the other compounds and variabilities that people are dealing with. And I'm like, I'm just going to open it back up again. And so I was. I mean, literally the Monday after Thanksgiving, I was going to go over and say, hey, at noon, We Are Hospitality. It's bit.ly/We Are Hospitality, literally, no space. I'm there at noon every day. And whether nobody shows, no problem. If you show, I'll talk about all the geeky stuff that drives me crazy. Like, for instance, Oculus, you can go and do meditation. You can be on a beach in Bali and breathe. There's
Real
a guru that'll be right there with you and breathe. Actually, it's strange you bring it up because it's like I got this platform called Alcove, which had this health section to it, and it had meditations and stuff. I'm like, whatever. And I go in there, I'm like, this is pretty cool. I mean, first off, the virtual, I'm on a beach, is pretty cool. But the other, that the person's training you how to breathe and relax and just enjoy the visualization of being there, was actually like, I'm going to go back and do this pretty regular because I like this. This is pretty cool. It's a nice pause to the chaos.
Yeah.
So
meditation is one of the tools that I use, and I've used for a long time. And it took me a while to get it. Like I dabbled, I'd say, for a long time, and I didn't really see it. But then after it's like any exercise, right? When you really commit to it and do it fully for like 30, 60, 90 days, it's different for anyone. But it made such a difference. Like being mindful, like Lily talking about, acknowledging your emotions. That's one of the things that mindfulness teaches you, right? It's being present with your emotion, recognizing that it is an emotion that you're feeling. It's not who you are. It doesn't define you. Being able to wrestle with that in your mind and accept it and forgive yourself when you feel the way you feel, it's okay. Mindfulness is one of the most powerful techniques known to man, and it's not spiritual. It's not hokey. It's rooted in science. I'm a science major. I have a physics degree. I'm not a spiritual person in that way, and yet mindfulness is one of the most powerful tools I know.
You know, Lauren, when you were trying to sell me on Oculus, this meditation in Bali thing would have probably been a better avenue than let's shoot people together. So,
Well, the thing is,
now
You
I'm
can value for
interested.
shooting things. Just
Know your
Well,
audience.
Bali
Target your
doesn't
message
work,
to
you can
your
go
audience,
shoot
Lauren.
there's a satisfaction of winning a game where everybody else is trying to shoot you. I'm just saying, it's kind of makes you feel warm and fuzzy that you won.
I'm not invalidating that. I'm just saying
there's some
that
stress
I'm
in
more
using
drawn
a
to
lightsaber
meditating
a
on
throat
Bali.
to them.
Yeah, and lightsaber stuff, when you're fighting with a lightsaber,
Yeah.
very therapeutic.
Very therapeutic.
There's a
That's why
hotel
you-
marketing lesson there, Lauren, right? Understanding your audience and tailoring your message.
Tailoring the message. I need to go into
Motivating
and actually,
the audience.
honestly, Lily, you would love it because the meditation thing, I was very impressed with it. There's good VR and there's VR. This is, you're on the beach. I mean, you're there, all 360, there's palm
I'm
trees.
gonna check that out.
behind you, there's a beach in front of you, the sounds in 5D.
That might have actually sold me as well.
Lauren, which app is that? What's that one called?
It's called, the platform is called Alcove.
Alcove.
And in Alcove is
Yeah.
a section that's called Health and Meditation. You go in there, and that's one of the things you can do. Plus, you can go visit anywhere in the world you want to have this beautiful globe. You spin around and say, I want to go there. And it brings you all the VRs that are available in that part of the world. And you go and take a bus trip through London or, whatever, a scooter ride in Paris or something. It's amazing.
Cool.
So, but yeah, it's called Alcove. It's pretty cool.
I think it's worth pointing out with all this too, and putting a wrapper on it kind of is that, and I don't mean this to minimize anything. In fact, the exact opposite. Everybody is going through this. Everybody has been touched or impacted in some way, shape, or form by this COVID virus. And like I said, I'm not saying that to minimize anyone's experience. The exact opposite. There are other people that are doing the exact same thing that you are. Reach out to them and be a part of that community.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. I will say at the beginning, I really struggled with it. It was really hard. I felt like I'd lost a part of me, and I think a lot of people did. And Lauren, your daily touch base, your therapy session that you did made a real impact in how I viewed the world. Like sharing my fears and my hopes with other people who were going through the same thing really, really did help. And Lauren is the furthest thing from a trained psychologist. But,
As a matter of fact, I'm usually the case study. Now,
yeah, usually the patient for sure. But just sharing, talking to other people that were experiencing similar things or could empathize with me made the world a difference. So thank you for doing that, Lauren. And I would encourage everyone to find that community, even if it's a community of one, even if it's a professional or just a friend or your spouse. Just talk to someone about it. If you're feeling these things, you need to acknowledge it. Ignoring it is not going to help you in the long term.
No, that's for sure. That's for sure. Well, thank you. I mean, 2 hours plus, and we could probably keep on talking for lots of fun things. But I'm glad we were able to get to it, Lily, as well. Thank you. It was always appropriate. It's never inappropriate, and it is a part of, whether it be hospitality marketing or not, it's message and perspective, which really, marketing is marketing. With that in mind, I'm going to be, we keep the tradition alive. Now, so far, there have been years where I've been alone by myself the day after Thanksgiving on the show, just saying, and also the day after Christmas, just saying. If anybody would like to join me for those shows, we do them anyway.
Oh, there will be one, you're saying?
Huh?
There will be one then?
Every Friday.
Always.
You've never missed a Friday.
Never
Ever.
missed a Friday, never missed a week in all these years. Never. And even if these are the shows that tend to be, hi guys, it's Lauren.
It's
but we
shorter.
always keep consistent. Yeah. So if anybody wants to join.
Christmas Day is on a Friday this year.
Oh, is it? Oh, well, between presents and eggnog, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, I
He's just gonna
do it
live
anyway.
stream his Christmas celebration and call it.
I'll wear a Santa hat if it helps anybody deciding on joining.
And then we'll put up Charlie Brown Christmas, let that play, and away you
Hey,
go.
at least it's going on PBS. Boy, did they
Yeah.
irritate a lot of people that Apple ate it up and then wasn't, yeah. But at least it's on PBS for those who want to still catch it. Thanksgiving.
Unbelievable that's where it had to go, but yeah.
Yeah, well, anyways. So we will be having show number 277 next week, next Friday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern, for those who would like to join. I will try to keep it interesting and lively, even if I am a solo act. I do great hand puppets and shadow puppets and stuff. So,
Just
But,
bring out your
thank
list
you.
of tools, Lauren. That will for sure take 2 hours.
oh, yes. Well, actually, I'm very proud of my podcast because I have kept it within 20, 25 minutes.
It's
And I-
impressive.
And I still throw tools in there, and I even have more to share. Stuff. Yeah. So it's been pretty good. By the way, speaking of podcasts, Lily, just,
Yes.
waiting for the next one.
I think you're going to have it today, in theory.
Extra. Hey, just also so you know, Dean's done a really cool thing. Because you don't have to follow, I have to follow mine with the live show recap, so I can't really do them in advance. But he's been pumping them to me. They're scheduled out,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so
Thank you.
he's got a buffer unless
I'm
something changes.
working on that myself, actually.
That's the
So-
holy grail, man.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yep, I've got a whole list I'm working on, but I believe my next one is actually going to be digging a little bit more into She Has a Deal, which we had up here on the show 2 weeks ago, I think. So
about that,
that should be our next one coming out.
And I did reach out to Amy. Amy wasn't getting my invites to join us again. She wanted to come back from get-go. She wanted to come back in
Yeah.
again. And Amy hadn't been getting my invites, so I reached her with a different email account. She says, no, I haven't been getting them. So she's now in tune again. She couldn't do today, but she'll try to jump back in with us again. And Tracy always is welcome from She Has a Deal. And then the Adele's podcast, I got finally her audio today, so it will be going up today. So Adele's Reputation Management podcast will go live today. It'll take a couple of weeks or a week plus for it to get propagated on iTunes and so forth. But it'll go up and be good. And I do have to if it's not next week with the audience, but whenever we get back together in a group again, I got to talk about Hulu's new beta program for advertising. Yeah, it's incredible. It's rocks.
Who's?
Huh?
That's a good teaser.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
well, because I mean, it's dirt cheap and you're totally localized.
Yeah.
I mean, demographics, shows, geography. It's like, I want to talk to you when you watch this show.
Let's talk
Boom.
about that next episode because I got some thoughts
Interesting.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
crazy, the beta. I mean, the limitation is I can only have one client on it, which really irritated me. But I think I got into the back door because I begged. Just saying. I was sending them an invite every week. They kept saying, thank you for your interest. We'll let you know next year. Thank you for your interest. Next year. Finally, I'm like, they're like, okay, we can let you do this entry, but you can only do this account because of your agency size. I'm like, fine, good, I'll do it. So anyway, it's pretty cool though. It really is a pretty cool tool. Thank you all for your time today. And thank you, Lily, for both the topic and the discussion, and Stuart, Dean, obviously. And then for those, for anyone wants to know about Flip2, Ed was around Flip2, Flip.to. Who else dropped? Oh, Tammy, but from Milestone Me Internet. Ben from 3-6. Sorry. Yeah. Anyway, make sure they're all in the show notes. I got them written down. Just can't remember off the top of my head. Thank you all. And we will hopefully see some of you, if all of you, next week. And then remember, after Thanksgiving, for those in case you missed next week's show, we'll start the We Are Hospitality starting on Monday, which would be before the end of, what is the calendar date for Monday? 27th, 29th, 30th. Yeah, November 30th. We'll start up that. So if you want to join for that. Thank you all. We'll see everybody hopefully next week. If not, a very happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Thanksgiving.
Happy
Yeah.
Thanksgiving.
Bye, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye.